What is up, everybody?
Give us a call sign or beat it. Let's play a game. Get your panties out of a twist and give us a call sign.
Oh, buddy. Man, they changed that restream.io website, which is where I pipe my video to Twitch and YouTube. They changed some controls for some reason. What worked just fine for years, they decided, oh, no, we're definitely going to go mess with that. And they made it to where it'll push live stream to the wrong place if you don't, like, go and double-check, like, two things simultaneously. But anyway, we're live now. Don't know what happened there, but should be good. Where am I good? I think I'm good across the board. We'll see. You guys tell me if I'm... Says I'm live, so... Must be right. YouTube seems happy, and if YouTube's happy, that's good enough for me. All right, so I think George is in the Discord after chat. If you're joining us for the first time, the after chat is Q&A. It's a live talk chat that we do. We demonstrate a lot of radio things, so even if you need to see something on video, we can do that. It's not a big deal. But the best way to interface with us is to join us on Discord. The link is in the video description. Scroll down to the hashtag live-stream text chat and hashtag live-stream /after chat. That's the voice chat if you want to ask your question in voice, which highly recommend if you need a like multi-part question with like it's going to cost me, you know, I'm looking at this radio or tell me what radio to go buy. We're going to likely ask you more questions like, hey, how much do you want to spend, right? What do you want to do with that radio? That's a little two-way road kind of discussion, so feel free to join us over there. All right, I am going to hop into the Discord and say hi to our friends.
On top, once you lift the seat up, it's right there. Huh. But it's just, you know, I'd say it's maybe an inch.
Abri! Did we get George T in here effectively? I see, yes.
Yes, he is effectively here.
Very real and effectively as well, so good. Hopefully we're making good use of our time with George, so graciously hanging out with us in the evening, although he is a West Coaster, so he's got a little bit different time zone than the rest of y'all. So appreciate you, George. Thanks for being on again.
Oh, yeah, it was a blast. Thanks, Josh. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So does anybody have we'll start on the Discord. Does anybody have any questions for George? And it could be related to anything, and not necessarily the shack control, but anybody? Questions? Go now. Come now.
I do.
Go for it, Don.
Yeah, I asked a couple of times in the chat, but and I guess, you know, we didn't see it, but have you tried SMA connectors instead of those BNCs? Because there are so many adapters for the SMAs to SO239 or PL259 or F-type or whatever you want. And I've not seen that many for BNC. And we use the SMAs a lot in telecom for pretty much all of our connections. Of course, thing is, I'm not real RF at their level of RF, so maybe they're doing that because they're at such a, you know, in the gigahertz range of frequencies, more so than we are in ham radio.
So for the coax relay board, you mean, I assume?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I didn't think about using SMAs for that, and I probably wouldn't use them for that. So the reason being that the only two common connectors you can find that are PCB assemblable are SMAs and BNCs, and BNCs are mechanically more stout, if you will.
Oh, true.
And also they're in the QRP world, it's the standard connector. In the regular 100-watt radio world, it's usually UHF connectors on HF PL259s. Mm-hmm. Problem is they don't make those in right angle PC board mount configuration like we were talking about. So I think BNC is really the better connector than the SMA, mainly because if you apply any kind of force to the connector, the BNC is going to hold a lot better than the SMA before it snaps.
Right.
There you go.
And they're a bit more common.
So, well, let me just go back. Is there anybody else waiting in the chat? Questions for George, since we have him here on Discord. Otherwise, we'll look to the YouTubes here in a second. By the way, everybody watching on YouTube, now's the time. If you got a ham radio question, start dropping them, and we'll get to them as we go here. Just put question or @ham radio crash course in the chat. So go ahead for Discord. Anybody with a question? So I will ask a couple of mine then. So what was the rail that you used? The rail that you had mentioned multiple times for George, for your devices? Uh-oh. Am I out, or did we lose George?
No, I can hear you.
Okay.
We lost George. I believe it's a DIN rail?
Or NK?
That's correct.
DIN rail. Okay. Uh-oh, George. Well, we'll hang tight, George. We'll keep the seat warm for you while you sort out whatever's going on. You might be on mute or something. So with that DIN rail, I guess you could just...
Sorry about that.
You all right?
My computer just blue screened. So
Oh,
sorry.
oh no! Oh my goodness!
It's the witching hour. I'm sorry. I sort of dropped out in the middle of Don's questions.
No, so I think we moved on a little bit. I think you covered it with the BNC, but I was asking the rail system you were talking about is they answered DIN rail. So how would that interface with the boards? Would there be like you just bolt them in there, or what do you do?
Well, so there's a lot of ways you can mount the boards. So the board by itself, the raw board, has mounting holes. So you would, if you're putting it in a chassis, you could just use standoffs and screw it into a chassis like you normally would.
Mm-hmm.
I also make a base plate that allows you to attach the circuit board to another board underneath it to give you kind of an insulation on the bottom. And the base plates extend to the left and right with additional holes. So again, you can screw them to something like standoffs or whatever. But if you're DIN rail mounting, there's holes for DIN rail clips. So DIN rail is about 1 3/8 inch wide extruded aluminum channel.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is for like industrial automation stuff to make things really easy to install fairly complex systems. You just screw the DIN rail to the box or the plywood or whatever you're mounting the stuff to, and then DIN rail products just snap on to that rail.
I see.
And so when I ship the base plates, they'll come with DIN rail clips. So you just screw the DIN rail clips into the base plate and just snaps on the DIN rail.
Okay. Now, by design, then it sounds like you kind of thought that these would be okay just hanging out in a ham shack, so you don't have much concern of having. I don't want to say they're bare PCBs, but there's definitely some componentry right there. Did you have any issue with that?
No, I mean there's lots of trade-offs. If you go to an enclosure for everything, now you got a bunch of boxes, and
right,
where do you put the stack of boxes? And it's not a very elegant solution either. So I think there's a couple different ways this stuff will be set up. One way is on a flat vertical board like a telco wall kind of installation, and I. For that kind of installation, if you're putting it in a cabinet, no problem. If it's exposed, like you're putting it on a real telco wall in a room, and the boards are exposed, then I'm making top plates that are going to go on top of each of the modules. So at least the face of the circuit board is going to have a cover you could put on there optionally. But there still will be openings on the sides, but that's kind of okay for airflow for the Raspberry Pi at least. And it's not super critical for the other stuff. If you're going to put this sort of thing in any kind of inclement weather, you'd be putting it into a waterproof kind of utility box anyway.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. All right.
Or if you're putting it into a rack, like you want to take up as minimal amount of space as possible, then I would take a 1U empty chassis, and I just mount the boards horizontally and have the wires come out the back, and then you've got an enclosure.
Like lay them flat on a
yeah,
shelf?
Just lay them horizontally. Okay. Yeah. Well, it could be on a shelf, or it could be on a complete enclosure. So you can get 1U chassis boxes that are enclosed on all sides. You need access on the back, so you need holes or a slot or something on the back to get the wiring in and out. But then mount the boards on the inside and just have the wires come out the back. The reason why the DIN rail is more attractive is because there's a lot of wiring that goes on, and in typically the first few months or a year or whatever of doing a new station like this, you're constantly coming up with new ideas and rewiring stuff and this and that, and doing that in a rack chassis makes things kind of cumbersome to unscrew it and kind of pull it out the front and have wires kind of pulled on the back and all that.
Mhm.
So it's kind of easier if you can to do it on a, like on a even a small plywood board, and even just put that horizontal into the rack in a chassis box if you like.
There you go. Was somebody going to say something? I heard somebody trying to key up.
Yeah, comment.
Go ahead.
I heard George say earlier he was worried about getting a rack custom built to hold all the boards, and I was just going to ask if he's considered using PCB as a subcarrier assembly. So you get any sort of chassis box out there that you can find that's affordable, and then you use just a PCB, no electrical connections. You're just using the fiberglass rigidity as the carrier board and integration board.
Yeah, for sure. I've done some products like that where you get an extruded chassis, like from Hammond or someone like that, and instead of using their end plates, you just do your own end plates in PCB material. So that's a possibility. One of the challenges with these kind of products is that you have connections usually coming off at least two sides. So coming up with a enclosure is also a bit of a challenge. Unless you do two end plates, then it's possible. So that might be. So I think if there's demand for doing enclosures, then I will come up with some sort of enclosure approach. For my own personal experience, I find that enclosures seem like a good idea, but in fact wind up being really inconvenient. Mm-hmm. And it's better if you can to get some kind of a cabinet and put all the modules in the cabinet and consider the cabinet to be your safe enclosed space, and not sweat the individual boards inside the cabinet. That makes wiring a whole lot easier.
There you go. So apologies for everybody. I use a service called Restream.now to spread the stream into Twitch and YouTube. And it's really being fussy about YouTube today. That's why we started late with George. I should be good now. I should be live. If you go to my channel, wherever you're watching, you should be able to see it for the after chat. Hopefully you should see it now. Bill just linked it. So
Yeah.
apparently, we did get one though that's interesting, and I'm gonna jump the line a little bit from talking with George for a second. Next one, this one. Greg has a Ford Lightning, so do I, and he has an FT891 and an ATOS 120 in it, and he has an S9 noise floor when driving, but when he stops, so if you come to a stop and you have the foot on the brake, the noise goes away. So I have the same problem. 10 meters is okay. Some of the higher frequency bands on HF are okay. I am playing around with shielding. And also, after talking with Shane, because Shane's the one who did the installation on the 891, he's like, it's possible that we're running our power lines for the radio too close to the power lines for that go from the batteries to the motors and that kind of stuff. And if you're too close to that, you could pick up noise from that as well. I haven't gone so far to contact Ford, but I'm not against doing that. And I might do that in the future at some point. So right now, I don't have a good solution for you. Grounding will not solve this. That is likely some kind of a problem with the motors, likely the large drive motors, or something in the conversion. If they have some kind of a conversion that'll go from the drive battery, which is a much higher voltage, into the 12-volt standard, so whatever converter they're using for that, there could be a problem on. Not problem, but that's where the noise could be coming from. There is no amount of ferrites that you can put onto these lines to stop this noise. It's literally transmitted RF. It's not common mode. So that's not going to solve the problem.
Is that an EV or a hybrid, or what is it?
Yeah, it's the Ford Lightning, the F-150 EV.
All right, never mind. I don't know anything about EVs, but I had the same problem in my 98 Dodge, and I came to the conclusion it's the alternator. So since the alternator is on that belt, and when you go to higher RPMs, I had the same issue. All I did was, and my alternator went bad, and I put in a new alternator, and it worked just fine. So it was just a bad alternator, if I'm being honest, but I don't know anything about
EVs are different.
Except for their they are a pain in the butt. You cannot put them out if they catch on fire. That's all I know.
So Greg, I love my Lightning too. I seriously love it. It's a fantastic vehicle for everything I do. Your different mileages will vary, of course, but I absolutely love mine. So that's my last step. I'm even going so far as to consider taking that that paint that you can buy and actually going in and painting some of the see if I can break up some of the lines with some kind of attenuation or something like that from the main drive line and see if that works. I'm sure Ford would pitch a fit at that. So I haven't done that yet, but anyway, thanks for the question. Good question. And we will take all your ham radio questions, but first we're talking to our buddy George. And I know Mike is in the chat. Mike did a really good live stream with him. You can go check that out. But one of the things George does is Packtenna. That may be the thing you know of him mostly, is his nice wire winder PCBs that he has for his end-fed antennas. And so the question for George is, George, I know you got a lot going on with your new stuff you're doing for automation, but are there any potential Packtenna upgrades in the future or anything on that side of the house that we haven't talked about yet?
Ooh, that's a good question. The most important thing that I've been trying to work on over the last year with Packtenna is to get enough inventory so people stop complaining.
Sure. Yeah.
They're out of stock. And I had a manufacturing problem that I had to work out, which really threw a wrench in the works. So one of the assembly houses I used put the B team on the product, and the stuff we got from them wasn't good enough. And so we had to go through a big process to get the right people to work on it, to start making them to the quality that I'm happy with. So that really set things back about 6 months. And of course, nobody sees that except like, why can't we get the thing? So that's past us. We made a really big batch recently. And so kind of the first order problem was to get to the point where I can get a reliable stream of product. And that seems to be the case now. Mm-hmm. So what's next for Packtenna? There's some things that I've had in mind for a while that I haven't pulled the trigger on. One of them is I have a link dipole that's been around for a while. I was thinking about making a remotely controllable link for the link in the link dipole.
Hang on, George, you've been talking about that for years. Is that actually going to come to fruition?
I built a prototype, but I wasn't happy with it. So
yeah, that's what you told me in like 2019.
Yeah, it's still on my mind. I had somebody else basically describe a what the heck is it? The DX Commander. I said, well, why don't you build an antenna like this? And I said, that's a DX Commander you just described. So I don't want to do what he did.
Right.
So I'm not sure what else. Maybe some other VHF stuff might be in the cards, but we'll see. I think my new product focus has really been more on getting the station controller thing out the door, and that's kind of that's significantly more complicated than the antennas. So that's really taken a ton of time. So I think once this kind of calms down, then I'll probably look back on the Packtenna stuff and see what else. Part of what we've been doing too is adding more accessories, just common stuff like cables and chokes and window feed throughs and stuff like that, masts and so forth, that are not particularly creative, but it's, things that you need to make a complete setup.
Right.
So we've been doing more of that stuff.
Well, what's kind of interesting to me is I found out about you from the Ham Radio workbench, and I obviously from Packtenna, but I didn't know about the VHF UHF background and particularly the repeater stuff. So have you always been pretty involved with the VHF UHF stuff in the areas you support? I mean, you support all the way down to Cactus Intertie, which is down towards me. So yeah. What's your background there?
Yeah, well, I got my license back in '72, and yes, I'm that old. And the guys, I got my novice ticket, so HFCW is kind of where I started. But in my teens, the hot thing was repeaters.
Sure.
And so I got involved with a club, the Cactus Intertie, and had some friends there, and they got me into the club, and that was in like the late '70s. And these guys were all super smart. They were really capable, mostly two-way radio guys, sometimes broadcast engineers, but they were like very knowledgeable in radio. And one of the things that they did was they built their own repeater controller. The guy who's one of the founders of Cactus, his name was Alan Bergstaller, and Alan, he's passed away, but Alan designed the repeater control system for the Cactus Intertie. out of TTL components. I mean, really basic building blocks. And so Alan was very inspirational to me that you could do this sort of thing. And it was like magic. And so I studied what he did and all that, and really wanted to emulate what he did, but in more modern stuff, which is how I wound up getting into building repeater controllers. So yeah, I've been doing that for a long time. I've built many. They're still on the air down there, even though now I live in Oregon. I've got a repeater system up here now with a new controller that I just designed, a small controller. So yeah, I've been pretty active in that. In fact, that's kind of how I really was easily pivoting over to the station controller, because a lot of the fundamentals that you need to know how to do to build a repeater controller, at least the big ones that we build, a lot of the fundamental knowledge is usable in the station controller stuff, like how do you program microcontroller and how do you pick components and how do you get this thing assembled and all that stuff. I knew from my repeater controller days, which we still do, but that's a very niche market. I mean, the only people that know anything about repeater controllers are people that build repeaters. There's not that many.
Yeah. So what God, not to keep going down this rabbit hole, but maybe you have insider information. What's the story with repeaters these days? Because you hear everybody, oh, repeaters are dead, they're a dying breed, blah, blah, blah. Like, has your demand of the repeater controllers remained the same, gone up, gone down? What's your take on all that?
Oh boy, that's a big question. I have a couple of observations. One is, I think that the amount of interest in building repeater systems is probably not as high as it was like 30 years ago, but it's probably been pretty steady and flat over the last 20 years. I think the biggest change is bringing digital systems into the mainstream. So if you go back, 10 or more years ago, digital repeaters were kind of an anomaly, certainly 15 years ago. And they were kind of an odd thing. And now they're pretty mainstream. I think what's happened is many things, but one thing that's important, I think, is the negative thing is that we have split the community up. So in the old days, everything was FM. Everybody had a radio that would work on any system.
Right.
And it was like the only difference was my repeater, your repeater, or whatever. But now there's entirely isolated subgroups. So you've got the DMR guys, the Fusion guys, the D-Star guys, and the analog FM guys. Some of them on All-Star or not, and then other more peculiar modes like P25 and XDN, et cetera. So all that does is it chops everything up. And so, like when I ran the repeater systems I built out in the Bay Area, we had 3 FM repeaters at 2 sites linked together. Then we added a D-Star repeater. Then we added a Fusion repeater. Then we added a DMR repeater. And by the time we got to putting up the DMR repeater, we pretty much cut our membership into 4 quadrants. And, we had 4 little clubs because the repeater was like the common ground. And now there's 4 isolated areas. Mm-hmm. And I acknowledge that there's ways to bridge these systems together, but that's for kind of more super active users, not casual users. So I think that balkanization is really a problem. I think that's really that's a sad thing, and I'm all for innovation. Try different modes and all that, but it's really a pity that they're all quite isolated for the most part. So I think the activity is probably what it was 20 years ago, but it's in harder places to find, frankly.
Yeah. I can see that. Like, we've distributed the load, if you will, so there's less people. Because it's such a local community thing when it comes to repeaters. And if you've got some repeaters that are just doing a specific digital mode, we've now chopped that up significantly. And so that community just starts getting smaller and smaller, and they don't intertie well together. So, yeah, I can see that. That's a good point.
But what I have seen on the FM side is I don't see FM repeaters going away. I would say a lot of the growth has been in digital, where there's new digital systems coming up. And of course, there's examples where people like flip their analog repeater into a digital repeater. But a lot of the digital repeaters are adding on to the local repeater scene more so than replacing them. There's a lot of stuff that are like dual mode repeaters, like you can get a a Fusion repeater and now an ICOM D-Star repeater where you can switch between analog and digital mode. And the funny thing is, like with the Fusion repeaters, the number of Fusion repeaters went really up pretty quick. And I would say 90% of the people I talked to who bought the Fusion repeaters aren't using it in digital mode. They're using it in analog mode because they got them cheap, because EAC was bombing the price to get them, sold. So,
yeah,
anyway, there's a bunch of random comments. I think what I've seen in the repeater controller space is that there's fewer and fewer companies making repeater controllers. It's not believe me, it is not a place where you're going to make a living. It's the sort of thing you do because you want to do it, and if you could do it and not lose money, then you're a success. It ain't no place to make a living, that's for sure. And you've seen a lot of the repeater controller companies go out of business. So, and the only reason we do it is because we didn't need to do it to make a living.
Yeah. Is the repeater scene still or has it throttled down to just a couple of major manufacturers being the go-tos, or is it people just kind of find what they like and then they go with that? Like, I remember there used to be a lot of Motorola repeaters in and around here, but I think that's kind of dwindled to some degree. Probably still with the analogs, but I know people have largely branched off to other things. What's kind of been the flavor? Do you know?
I would say that it's similar still. I mean, if you're putting up an analog or obviously a DMR repeater, you can go with a commercial repeater like a Motorola repeater. But I would add that the number of people that know how to work on repeater equipment, I think, is going down.
Sure.
And and that's true in the commercial world, not just the ham radio world, but it's true in public safety. Radio technicians are hard to come by. Microwave technicians hard to come by. So I think the one thing that digital is easier than analog to put up a system. So today, let's say you want to put up a DMR repeater. You go write a big check, you get a box, you plug in the Ethernet cable, you plug in your coax connector, you pull up the programming software, and in 10 minutes you're done, and it just works. And there's nothing to do. If you have an analog repeater, it takes, if you buy a commercial off-the-shelf one, it's not much more complicated than that. But if you really want it to sound good, it takes a little work. If you integrate it into an external control system, it takes work to make it sound good. If you want to connect multiple radios together because you're doing analog FM radio linking or VoIP linking, it takes work to make the audio sound good. You don't have any of those problems with digital because it masks all that out. So you never get to the audio stream in a digital repeater. It's just obscured from you completely.
Yeah.
So that's actually easier to put up a DMR repeater than it is to put up a FM repeater and make it sound good.
I got a follow-up.
Yeah, go for it.
So, George, what about GMRS? I mean, has that added anything to the repeater scene?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think so. I think what I've seen is that there's more vendors making GMRS repeaters. Like, I think a good example is Redivus. So Redivus makes a bazillion different radios, and they make GMRS radios, ham radios, business band radios, et cetera. And they come out with something targeted GMRS, like their portable repeater, and the next thing you know, they're selling their portable repeater for ham bands or commercial bands or whatever. So I think that actually the GMRS stuff does kind of help a little bit, at least in the lower end, like Chinese part of the market. Low end is not fair, but I would say the more broad market vendors like a Redivus or anybody in that kind of Chinese supplier zone. So I think it does actually kind of help. Well, and the GMRS has been like a super. People are kind of waking up now to the fact that GMRS is actually really useful for the right circumstances.
Yeah, what I was going to and was kind of thinking is the fact that they're not split up, right? So GMRS is FM. You're not going to get the digital modes and all of that they can go to. And I have noticed in my area, like the 2-meter FM repeaters are dead. There's not really even a whole lot of digital, but boy, the GMRS repeaters always have somebody on them. Yeah, well, same thing here. I mean, we put in a radio system for my community, and one of the things we looked at was using GMRS, and I could hear something on every channel. So there's a repeater on every one of the 8 pairs. So that was kind of a bummer. Mm-hmm. So we wound up getting a business band channel, and that's worked out well. But I think that's what you're seeing is in GMRS, there's 8 places to go, and in ham radio, there's hundreds.
So
yeah, and sorry, what I was going to say that it's funny about that is you'll go onto those GMRS repeaters and start talking to them, and more than half of them, if not all of them, are hams.
yes,
Yeah.
I've seen that. Yeah, yeah. So I think GMRS is a useful tool for people who just need a appliance. It's great, and for people who gravitate towards it because they're might want it as a hobby, then it's a good gateway to ham radio. So I think GMRS is great. It's pretty busy actually, even around here in the Portland area. It's pretty active.
Yeah, same here in the Texas area, and I mean, you go into Dallas even, and you really don't hear a lot of guys on the repeaters. The repeaters get used a lot when there are special events like parades or, something like that they need to coordinate and they need the repeater. But other than that, it's like, yeah, you rarely hear anybody on them.
I think one of the problems is that I've seen this. I mean, having done this for a long time, repeater building has in the past anyway been a popular thing. So like, gee, I want to put up my own repeater, and I'm going to talk to my two friends on my repeater. So now you have another repeater where two people hang out, but they're not that active. And then somebody else puts up their repeater, and they put their three friends on it. And so you wind up with a lot of gear on the air, but you split up the community a lot. So I think it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. In the early repeater days when it was novel, it was an exciting thing, and there were very few repeaters. So, kind of like GMRS, in the LA area on 2 meters, there were, maybe on every frequency there was a repeater, but that's before they even had the splinter frequencies. But there was really like a dozen big repeaters, and that was like it. And like today, well, every frequency's got 3 repeaters in LA, and on UHF, every frequency's got multiple repeaters on it. So, are there that many hams? Not really. I think it's just because it's like, hey, I want to put up my repeater, and well, okay, and then it carves off more people.
Yeah, I'm assuming you were licensed like in the 90s and before. But back then, the killer app on the repeater was the phone patch, because we didn't have mobile phones. And then when you get mobile phones, it's like, well, I don't need the repeater. I can just pick up the phone in my, in my car or whatever, and use that to make a call. And so to me, that's what I saw, is that a lot of the guys that you used to talk to all the time that were just kind of there because they were like, well, I might need to make a phone call, and so I got my radio on in case I need to, connect into the phone patch. But now those same guys are running around. They've got the radio off, and they've got their cell phone. It rings when somebody needs them.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's as big of a factor as anything. Like, there's more choices. So I got licensed back in '72, and the first time I did any stuff on repeaters was in the late '70s. And then, like, in your car, you didn't have it. That was it. Either you were a ham or not, right? Maybe you had a CB radio, but there's really no other alternative. And today, there's the zillion things you could use with your phone. The same is true like in the TV world. When I was a kid, you had like 7 channels, and everybody watched the same TV show. And today, everybody's got 600 channels, and you watch 2 of them, and guarantee they're not the same 2 that somebody else watches. So everything is like highly splintered. And so I think you kind of see the same thing in repeaters. It's highly splintered. And by the way, we also don't always do ourselves a big favor. There's plenty of repeater systems like that I know, certainly in other parts of the country, where you show up if you're a visitor and people don't treat you very well. I mean, there's no room for that in this hobby, yet that happens. So, we're also not very good ambassadors sometimes.
Yes.
To new people. And
Josh has a whole segment on his podcast about that.
Yes, I do. Unfortunately, the local communities on repeaters can be pretty cliquish as well, and that
totally
can lead to people not engaging, right? Because they're not very welcoming, is kind of the word I would use. Not that they're necessarily mean, but they're just not really interested in newcomers, right? They don't care.
Yeah, another thing that affects us around here, and it's probably true everywhere, but boy, repeater pairs are, gold. And so if you own a repeater pair, whether you're using it or not, you will not turn it back in to let somebody else use it. So there's a number of repeaters out here even that the guys, especially like I've noticed it in West Texas. I don't know that that's the case that's just them, but they have their own private repeaters, and boy, they do not like it if somebody else finds it and uses it. Even if you're driving through, they don't want to have anything that's for them and their friends, and that's it. And they own that pair, and they'll turn the repeater off if somebody's on it and they don't want them on it.
Yeah, that's a real issue everywhere. That's not unique area. There's a lot of that in Southern California. There's a real rat hole here about private repeaters versus public repeaters, and there's kind of arguments, pros and cons for both. But there's in my opinion, there's no room for people to be rude about it. So, like I belong to a club that has a private repeater, and if somebody shows up like, hey, I'm just showing up, and you better be nice to that person. And help them out, and because they may be your next best member. So you really ought to bend over backwards to be nice. And if it's a good fit for them to be in your group, then that's great. And if not, well, that's fine. There's plenty of other repeaters too. But there's no need to be rude about it, for heaven's sakes.
And George, sorry, Josh, one more question. George, have you had much demand or seen any 220 repeaters?
There's kind of a reasonable amount of 220 activity. I don't get involved with the repeater hardware itself except the controllers, and most of the systems that I sell controllers to are UHF and 2 meters. And there's a few 220 repeaters here and there that have our controllers, but not very many. I think part of the problem with 220 obviously is there's not that many vendors of equipment. Either mobile handhelds or repeaters, so you have to kind of go out of your way to make it work. The first repeater I ever built was a 220 repeater in Los Angeles with a with a 13509 Midland mobile radio, and 220 is an awesome band. Propagation wise, it's really good. And obviously it's somewhere between 2 meters and UHF in terms of its behavior. So it was great. We really liked it. Then they took away the lower part of the band, which is a bummer. And then now there's just very, very little equipment available for it.
Yeah, and when I've been on it, and I do have, I think TYT makes a 65 watt mobile radio for 220, and I've got one of those. But boy, is that band quiet! It just like you said, it's just it really is just an amazing band.
Yeah, it's a shame there's not more gear for it. I think 220 would be very popular. The biggest problem is building repeaters for it, because at least on 2 meters and UHF, not only are there repeaters that are built for the ham bands, you can take commercial radios and move them into the ham bands. There's really nothing close to the 220 band that's easy to move it there, unless you're going to go in and really modify the radio heavily to get it to change to move a high band commercial Motorola radio up to 220 is possible, but you got to really, snip off wire in the helical coils and change capacitor. You got to really go at it to make it happen. So it's not for the faint of heart. Is there much 220 activity at all in Texas? I hear Jason talk about it on his YouTube channel.
Yeah, and I live near him, and when I was there, when I moved now 50 miles south of Dallas. I used to be up in Richardson, which is right on the top of Dallas, and there were repeaters all over the Dallas area, 220s that I could easily hit. I had a J-pole up at 20 feet, and I could hit repeaters all over the 220 repeaters. So maybe 5 or 6, which I think is a lot, because there, again, there's not very many pairs and, all of that kind of stuff. And they were fairly active too. So, and there was one near Jason that he didn't know about. But yeah, so there are a few.
I haven't even looked in this area. I've been in the Portland region for about 2 years, and I haven't even looked on 220. So I don't even know what's around here. There probably is some here.
Yeah, the guy that is our trustee in the club that I'm in, he has a 220 repeater up on a fairly large tower. And I know one of the things that he does with it, which I thought was unusual, but apparently it's not all that unusual, is he forwards APRS messages from a 220 repeater in one city over to a 220 repeater in the other city, and then of course they go out on he sends it out on the normal 144.39 megahertz, but he forwards the packets over 220, which I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, actually, that's a good idea if you're going to do a backhaul in a different band, so you can get away from interfering with yourself. So that's pretty smart. That's what a lot of the lower part of the 220 band was used for originally. So originally we had 220 to 225 before they gave away the bottom 2 megahertz. And what was mostly in that bottom 2 megahertz was point-to-point linking. Like in Southern California, the upper 3 megs were repeaters. The lower 2 megs were for, at that time, mostly FM voice links between repeater sites. And the reason to do that is that it's easier if you're linking between sites to use a different band than the one your repeater is on. So if you have a UHF repeater, you can kind of get away with using the bottom end of the UHF band, but a 220 was kind of better. And if you have a 2-meter repeater, then it's way better to use 220 or UHF for your links. So that's where a lot of that 220 stuff was used for until they gave that spectrum away, which was a pity, because the people who they gave it to never used it. So it was really no reason. And of course, we never got it back, which is a shame. I think the biggest challenge with 220 is that since nobody else in the universe has 220 but the US, nobody wants to make gear for the band. That's the biggest challenge.
Yeah, I get a ton of comments on all my videos like, why are the major manufacturers continuing to ignore 220? And every time I have Ray Novak on the stream, he's like, guys, we're the only country that has like an appreciable amount of 220. And the company is not going to, even though we're like the biggest market, but still, they're not going to pour a bunch of money into R&D for a 220 and then drop it out there. And they can't cover all the bases, right? Because if they make a mobile radio for it or a handheld, they got to make a repeater because inevitably that's what people are going to use with it. So it's not just a mobile radio or AHT. It's like you got to have the whole suite of radios to go into it, and it's just not that big of a market to justify it in most cases.
Can we claim shenanigans on that for a second?
You can try. Go for it. I'd love to hear the argument.
So, 4 megahertz.
Yeah.
They make radios that do that for Europe.
You mean 4 meters?
4
Yeah,
meters,
4
excuse
meters.
me.
70 sims.
I'm just playing devil's
Or
advocate.
70
Which ones? Which radios, Mike?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
I'm not here to cite sources.
Oh, I know which one.
I said devil's advocate. Go ahead, Don.
The 7300 has 4 meters on it, and a lot of the HF radios that they sell in Europe. Oh, here, click, and there's 4 meters. Oh, this comes with 4 meters. In fact, I think one of my radios even shows it on the radio. Although, oh yeah, the 101D shows it on the radio, even though it's not, So yeah, there's lots of radios for it.
But those are HF radios that are pulling that duty, right?
They do it on the VHF UHF radios too.
Which ones?
Well, the ones that will do 6 meters will generally already will do 4 meters.
Yeah.
It's a circuit. Just swap it out.
It's not that easy, Mike. So you're talking about a band, the band in between 70 centimeters and 2 meters, right? So you do have to have somewhat of a specialty radio to do that. That's just the way it is, right?
Yeah, the tricky thing is, like, if you add a band and you want the radio to have any kind of performance, you have to have reasonably decent filtering, and you're not going to be able to use the 2-meter filter on the 220 band. So even if the like the lowest level stuff in the radio is the same, the microcontroller and the audio circuitry and all that is like all the same. But as soon as you start to generate RF and you amplify it, then you have to filter it, and all that stuff is going to be kind of purpose built for the band. So, could they do it? Of course. Would it add cost to the radio? Yeah, enough to really notice? Maybe not. But so then why don't they do it? And it may be a little bit technical, but I think it's also a little bit. Let's think about who these vendors are. So who are the companies in the world that are the best VHF, UHF radio makers for the ham market? Well, it's the Japanese companies.
Yeah. And
if you've ever worked with the Japanese engineering organization, it's kind of like my way or the highway. So their ability to do stuff is amazing, but they have it in their head the way the world should be. And if what you want to do is not, if what you want is not what they want, you're never going to see it. It's just the way it is. And I think a prime example of that is in the digital world. So why did Yaesu come up with their own damn digital format?
Because they gotta have one. That's a Japanese market thing too, right?
Yeah,
and they can't capitulate.
They're going to do their own.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, they can't capitulate to a competitor.
And now, in the same breath, if you were ICOM, well, why don't you just add the necessary hardware to do DMR as well as D-Star? So, funny thing, in my personal opinion, now they would never in a million years do this, but if I were ICOM, I would add DMR to my D-Star radio. That would make D-Star radios the most popular radios on planet Earth. And all the people who would never use D-Star now have a D-Star radio.
Right.
Because they're good Japanese radios that also do DMR and D-Star. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
The codec chip can do either one. It's just a change in the settings of the codec because they're all DVSI codecs. So it's not like, oh my God, I need a ton of different hardware. And why don't they do it? Well, it's because it's not their thing. My way or the highway. And that's really a miss. I think that's really a gap in the market.
Yeah.
Comment?
Yeah, go ahead, comment.
Yeah, it's like Kenwood. The commercial Kenwoods do NXTX, P25, and DMR.
Yeah.
And they do all three, or you get two of the three, depending on which modules you buy. So why don't they do the same? I mean, Kenwood are the only people that went on to D-Star. And it would be super easy, like you say, to add DMR to it.
So that's a really good point. That you can get a D-Star radio from Kenwood. So it's not technically impossible. Now, by the way, that's a $700 radio. But anyway, that aside, there's no reason they can't do it. So I do think that some of it is cost. It would jack up the price a bit. To do 220 or to do multiple digital modes or whatever. But I'm surprised nobody's really gone after that because I think that would be very, very popular. That may be your $1,000 handy talkie. But...
Yeah, I mean, even that though, then you're saying, oh no, the Chinese also are now doing the right way, right? So you're capitulating somewhere, and most of those companies, particularly the major two, I don't think they play that game very well.
No.
Kenwood is honestly the most. Kenwood kind of aligning with D-Star, right? That's a good example of some collaboration. But between the two, I don't think they do that. They don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's really kind of a shame. I don't know why nobody does that. Multiple digital modes. Or even like we were talking about the adjacent ham bands would be kind of nice. It'd be nice if we had 4 meters here in the U.S. Although honestly, I don't know how many people would actually use it. Look at how many people are on 6 meters. Well, there's a reasonable number, but not most hams aren't. Most hardcore hams operate 6 at some point, but most casual hams never do. So there'll be even fewer on 4 or 220, even if there was radios available. I think that's kind of the challenge.
I always assumed 6 meters was the perception that it wasn't open. Even if it is open, people don't check it. They're like, oh, it's you have a ham check 6 meters once or twice and not hear anything. They're not going back.
Yeah. Yeah, same thing could be said for 10 meters, depending on the time of the sunspot cycle. But
yeah, at least that.
You mean
though,
you don't wait to hear other FT8 signals before you start transmitting on 6 meters?
Oh no, I'll still do a beacon. I'll try every once in a while, but at the same time, using whisper and things like that, like, if you're not seeing an opening, a lot of people just they don't try.
Yeah, N8YO is all over 6 meters.
Yeah. Check it quite regularly, but I'll be honest, I go to 5313. If I don't hear anything, I'll tune out. 6 meters is awesome.
Yeah, but it is truly the band of, like, it's not open very often. That's the reality of it. It's just not open very often.
Here, at least, Mike, it does open regularly around, May through just about mid-July, and you get all over the country here.
Yeah, I made a couple 6 contacts this year, but it wasn't many. Mike was blowing up my my ham alert, though, N8YO.
Yeah, I was actually on it last year, I think, because I have that 6 meter Moxon, and around May, it's like every day, every single day, I was making contacts on it.
I think stuff like ham alert is, in a way, the silver lining in a lot of this stuff, because you don't have to be listening. You could just set stuff up and get an alert when there's some traffic out there. I think that's a fantastic service.
Yeah, that and reverse beacon network.
Yes, absolutely.
Which ham alert picks up. So great point, George. Mm-hmm. Ham alert for just guys in ham radio. Just put everybody in where they are geographically. Like, I know N8YO is in Michigan, and I know that he is just a 6 meter crackhead. Mm-hmm. So if N8YO pops up on my ham alert, I know that 6 meters is open somewhere. So I'll always hop on in 6 meters, and I have an NFET halfway for 80 meters. So it's like totally not resonant on 6, but I try anyway, and I never hear him, but doesn't mean you shouldn't try.
Yeah, and he's also on 2 meters. Every once in a while I'll get a ping for him on 2, and when I had my transverters up on the flex, I would get on 2 and oh hey, yeah, the 2 meters is open.
I really like 2 meter sideband. That's really fun.
Yeah, Mike does 144. What is that? Anyway, it's kind of like FT8, but he does that the digital mode on 2 meters. I've done 2 meter FT8 even, and but yeah, 2 meter sideband. There's a regular net here in Texas for 2 meter sideband.
Yeah, there's one in California that I was on from time to time, and there's a fella in Central California. So Mike Stahl, who has a company called M Squared Antennas, and Mike's got like an amazing array, as you would expect. And I would be up in San Jose, on the other side of a 3,500 foot mountain, and I could hear Mike down in Fresno on 2 meter sideband, and he could actually hear me, and I'm just on a loop. And that was amazing. I mean, like, I thought this thing was purely line of sight. Well, sometimes you get some pretty weird propagation.
Comment?
Good.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we over here, we used to leave, there's various beacons around the country. We would leave the beam pointing at a beacon. And if the beacon came up, and you know, because most of the time you can't hear it. But
right.
When the beacon comes up, you've got activity, because all of a sudden you're making it to the distance, and that's how I used to do it.
Do they still run the beacons?
Yes.
Yeah, that's really cool. They do that on up on 10 gigs in California. There's a lot of microwave activity in California, and so they'll do the same thing. They'll put like a 10 gig beacon on a mountaintop. And that way you can kind of zero in and know where you're pointing at, if you could hear it, or if there's any propagation to it. So the beacons are really handy.
George, what kind of antenna are you using when you're making these 2 meter? You're just at your shack making 2 meter sideband contacts?
It depends. If I'm home, I just have a loop. So it's omnidirectional, horizontally polarized. And if I'm portable, I've usually used a 3-element Yagi and put it horizontally polarized. And if it's super portable, like like on a hike, then I use the Packtenna dipole, so that it gives you horizontal polarization, but no gain. But compared to vertical, you're picking up about 19 dB right there going horizontal. So that makes a big difference. And you're probably on a hill anyway. So it just depends on where I'm at.
Okay. Because I have that dipole you sent me, and I want to do 2 meter. The only radio I have that does 2 meter sideband is the 705, but I'm also in the middle of nowhere in Huntsville, Texas. So it's like, you kind of have to just stare at the Tropo website all day and maybe hope.
Mike, I've never been able to predictably operate anything except just line of sight. And if you get a reflection off of a cloud or an airplane or something, then lightning struck for 12 seconds and good for you. But I would never bank on that. So I think the best thing to do 2 meter sideband is just find some elevation. I know that's not easy, but the most important thing is find some elevation, and also figure out in the area, is there a VHF club that is active, and what frequency do they hang out on, if at all? So, or do they have any nets? And see what you can fish out. I mean, just going into your backyard with a whip and trying to work 2 meter sideband is pretty pointless. In most areas, you have to kind of figure out where you're going to go to give yourself some elevation.
Yeah. I think that's going to be a challenge in Texas because we're so spread out. When you say like a group of guys that do this thing, they could be spread out. There's one guy in Dallas, there's one guy in Houston, and there's one guy in like Austin or something.
Yeah,
there could be more. I haven't tried, but
I'm sure there's more.
Seems to be my experience, at least in the Houston area.
So most of the time when I've seen people operating 2 meter sideband from home, and they're just in a normal like flat residential area with no elevation advantage, if you can put up a 5-element, more elements is always better, but if you can put up like a 5-element 2 meter Yagi horizontally polarized and on a rotor, then you could work some serious distance in the flats. I mean, you could work, couple hundred miles on a good day, and not relying on some weird propagation. Maybe 100 miles or something like that. Now you have to figure out the curvature and your elevation and all that, but you can get some decent distance.
You mean there's curvature? I'm kidding.
Well, unless you're a flat earther.
Yeah,
I want to get into it, but anyway, I'll turn it back to you guys.
I think the most fun on 2 meter sideband is during a contest, like the VHF contest. So what I'd do if I really wanted to do that is, first of all, I'd see if there's a club in the area, like a VHF weak signal club, and see if they have any activities. Second thing I would do is go out on like the ARRL VHF contest weekend, which is like September or something, and go find as high a ground as you can find and set up with like a 3-element 2 meter Yagi on a little tripod or something. I bet you work all kinds of people. But bring your 817 so you can at least work yourself.
It's an 818, sir. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
I take that back. I have 2 radios that do single sideband, so I can work myself. Cool. Thanks, George. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I saw your video with your 818 and the Armalock build to make your Manpack radio.
I just took that out today.
Very nice.
What, the doing a POTA, Mike?
Yes.
How'd that go for you?
Well, I figured I'd wait until you wanted to call on the YouTubers.
Oh, yeah? That's probably a good time. We should start doing that. Any other questions for George? He's been taking some questions. We'll give him a bit of a break.
I've got another question for him, if you don't mind, Josh.
Yeah, go for it.
So, George, how are you doing on your? Because I was going to look because I'm on your mailing list, but how are you doing on the masts? I know you were doing masts for a while, and I assume you're still doing them. And some of them looked really neat to me, but I never was able to catch you when you had them in stock.
Yeah, we had 2 different kinds. We have a fiberglass and a carbon fiber. The fiberglass mast is about 32.5 feet, so it's like 10 meters. and those are in stock. We got them now, and have had them for a while. The carbon fiber masts are about the same size. They're half the weight, and they're out of stock, and we're getting a shipment of those in about a month.
Did you drop the tripod?
The tripod was an experiment. I personally use the tripod almost 100% of the time. That's my absolute favorite setup is the tripod with, if I'm going to do something out of the car, I'll set up the tripod and the fiberglass mast all the time. If I'm doing a trail hike, I'll take the carbon fiber mast and no tripod. So we tried the tripod as a complete set because I made some custom brackets and clips and this and that. So I figured, well, I can just make a complete system with the tripod and the mast and all that little accessory stuff. And I pretty much sold all the ones that we put together, but the demand was kind of low, honestly. And so I thought, well, if a lot of people want it, that's great. It's worth the trouble. But if not, then maybe I'll find something else to do. So,
right.
So I kind of stopped doing the tripod thing. And you can go buy the tripods are all over the place. The carbon fiber tripod, like I was buying the carbon fiber tripods and essentially reselling them almost at cost because you can just go buy it yourself if you want to. I was doing it more as a convenience.
Where were you buying them at?
I was buying them from a K&F Concept.
Okay. Yeah, the only place I'm familiar with is Max Gain Systems, and theirs are for their big fiberglass masts, like up to 50
Oh my God. Yeah, those things are crazy heavy. Those are, yeah. The difference between what I'm doing and stuff like that is the Max Gain stuff is thicker wall and for heavier stuff. And it's really intended for the most part to be holding something with a mass on it. And that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make the absolute lightest possible thing that's going to, for the most part, hold up a wire. And,
right.
And or a very, very small antenna like the VHF antenna. And so they tend to be more like fishing pole style, where they're much lighter weight and whippy at the end.
Yeah, and I've got some of those, but I've also got, years ago, I snagged one of the 50-foot carbon fiber masts from Gigaparts. And I mean, literally the next day they went up like $400. But I still have that mast, and it's light, and it is. I mean, you can get it way up in the air. It's just great, but it's a big boy compared to like what you were selling, and that's why I was interested in it. But every time I tried to get in,
well, today's your lucky day.
Really?
So we have the fiberglass ones. But those Gigaparts carbon fiber, I love those things. When I did my radio trailer build, I put a couple of those as my main masts.
Yeah.
And the reason why I love those things is they're lightweight, but the best part is when you flip the collar lock open, the mast, the smaller mast, whichever one, freely slides in and out. There's no friction at all. I have the Max Gain fiberglass masts. And there's a similar, for those people who don't know, there's a similar clip mechanism. You kind of flip it open, the collar expands a little bit, and you can slide the smaller fiberglass tube in and out. But there's a tremendous amount of friction on those things, and they're really a pain in the butt. So for a one-person setup, the carbon fiber is like 1,000 times better. Even though they're more expensive, they're like 1,000 times more expensive, but they're much, much easier to handle.
Oh, I've got. Like I put my 2-meter J poles on the top of those things, and it'll hold it up straight. No bending, no anything. And I tried that once with one of their similar sized fiberglass, and it was just like, and it bent over. It did not, not all the way to the ground, but it definitely had a tilt to it. So. The carbon fiber was the way to go, and I've got a 33-foot and a 50-foot. And, I just love them. But, what you're talking about, though, when you start, if those things get wet, on the inside, and you start trying to pull them up when there's water sucking it back down, it feels like you're lifting a ton. And I don't know why, but every single time I try to raise one of my carbon fiber masts, it's wet on the inside.
So I learned after field day here, here in the Pacific Northwest, it's kind of wet, and whether it rains in it or there's just condensation, that those, even the carbon fiber masts get moisture inside. And so after an event like field day, especially winter field day, I dismantle the whole thing. So I take all the elements out and just lay them out and let them dry off before I put them back together, because they'll just retain the moisture.
Yeah.
Now, doing that with the fiberglass mast, now mine is easy because they're very slippy, but like the max gain fiberglass mast, the heavier duty ones, those are a total pain in the butt to take apart. I mean, they're just really hard to separate out. It's kind of a two-man job.
Yeah, I tend to, all of my fiberglass masts, or sorry, carbon fiber masts, they go out and they stay out. They're out all the time. I don't use them like for field day or whatever. I use them like, I've got one out here right now holding up the Starlink, and then I've got the other one holding up the 2-meter antenna up at about 30 feet. And I just, I deploy them and they're out there. So that may be why, I never seem to get mine dry.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Maybe, yeah. All right. Well, let's take a little dip into our YouTube friends that we have in the house today. I see a decent amount, so thanks guys for hanging on. So, Bill, Ham Radio Tectonics, you're in the house. What are you doing, man? What's been going on?
Hey Josh, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I've been having a lot of technical issues today. I had my antenna was all pissed off right now, and a bunch of other stuff that I sorted out. But we're all good, so we're moving forward. How are you been?
We are hams. We're gonna figure it out.
Yeah,
and
that's when I get quiet, is when I have technical problems. But sorry, go for it.
I saw you busily working. So, George, I want to first say that I love your antennas, and I love your products, and I love your podcasts. Thank you very much. You're in my house and in my radio bag several times a week. This is kind of apropos. Right now, I'm doing a series. So I'm Bill, Kilo Zero Whiskey Hotel Whiskey Ham Radio Tectonics. And I'm doing a little series on remote radio switches and relays on my channel. So this is really good stuff. Today it was like reinforcing the things that I'm doing. And really enjoyed this YouTube and Aftershock. And I'm going to get out of the way now because I'm a couple of glasses into the cab sav and I need to let someone else talk.
Very good.
Thanks a lot, guys.
I was screwing around. I installed a new amplifier today, everybody. You might have noticed it from the thumbnail. But I think I bumped one of my audio things. No, I'm clipping my audio now. Hold on.
Oh, yeah, your audio is hot.
There we go. Is that better? Or is it still hot?
Much better.
Okay.
Better.
All right.
You
so
can
anyway,
go down a little.
Yeah, brought it down a touch. But anyway, Bill, thanks so much for joining us out here. Appreciate it. And let's see. The next is the Broke Ham. How's it going, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm just doing some mesh-tastic stuff. Plan on doing some non-mesh-tastic LoRa stuff in the future here. Other than that, yeah, I'm just busy making my own custom cables for everything, doing way more work than I need to if I were to just spend like $15 on an adapter. So, kind of my bread and butter right now.
Well, thanks for joining us out here. Hopefully I'm not clipping. Looks like I'm...
You sound great.
Okay, good. Sorted out. Well, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, who is next? Oh, Don, what's have you dazzled us with another YouTube video recently, or are we we're waiting on your Shack updates?
Yeah, I know, and I need to do that. I was, anyway, I've got a ton of excuses, but I also got a new amplifier yesterday. Scored bigger. I feel like I did on Black Friday because somebody decided to upgrade their amplifier at Main Trading Company, and so I scored a expert SP or SPE expert 2K for a very good price from Richard, and literally got the thing the next day. I mean, he shipped it and I got it the next day. So, and I found out I could have driven up there and picked it up too. But anyway, so I've got that. I just got my. I know I need to know the right call sign, but I just don't. It's that KF JP or K7JP or KJ6VU metal box for the outside shack.
Yep.
And I got that in, and I was hoping to put it in today, but unfortunately it is pouring down rain, and has rained all day, and so I have not been able to do that. And last weekend I built out another table. Those legs, and I really need to show you all those legs that I'm using for the tables, because it's a separate, it's just legs, and then you can buy whatever you want to put on top of it. And I had a solid core door that I was using in my other shack, and I said, well, heck, I'll put some of those legs on it, and I did, and it's I mean, it's just great. And then I've got two other desk tables that I built out of the same thing. And those I found some bamboo tops for those that are about 4 foot. And when I started using those just don't feel big enough to hold radio equipment and computers and monitors and all that. So I went ahead and got that and did some stuff, and I have been and I really would like to show a few videos on this too, but I've done some struggling where I have put up some antennas into the trees, and I've got one of those. I kept struggling with how am I going to get them up. I can't throw that high, I can't, drones, whatever. And I remembered that, like, long time ago, that guy Tom that used to do he still does videos. I just haven't seen him.
I don't think he has. I don't think he does.
He did some storm chasing stuff for a while, and then when he moved to Oklahoma, but I haven't seen him since.
I haven't seen him.
Anyway, he had bought one of those big shots, the big slingshots for the arborists use.
Yeah.
And I had it, and I thought, well, what the hell, I'll give it a shot. And that works pretty damn good. So
there you go.
I took my 9-to-1. I had it up about probably about 30 feet, and now I've got it up about 40 foot. And the way that I was able to get it over one of the tree limbs, I was able to then pull it, and it's more of an inverted V. And it just hears so much better. Transmit wise, I'm not getting good transmit with it, but maybe if we get around to it, we can talk about that a little bit. And I need to move the DX commander. Anyway, I've got a lot of plans. It's just that
it sounds like you got a lot going on, Don.
Yeah. And then the thing is, I work from, sometimes 4 in the morning till 6 at night. And by the time 6 o'clock rolls around, it's freaking dark out there.
Yeah.
And
it's time to go to bed.
Now the shack is well lit, but as far as filming stuff, I'd really like to show the inside and the outside and the whole thing. And so I just, between that and then on the weekends, I get about eight hours or so that I can really work on it. And then with all the other normal life things, I don't get a lot of time to work on it. So
understood. Yeah, I hear that.
And then trying to stick a video in there too, but I'll figure it out.
All right, very good. Well, thank you, Don, for being out here as always. I did see a comment here from Is that Captain Hook with Leet Speak? Congratulations on the username. Been following for a while and getting excited about getting my license. Taking my tech test tomorrow. Test anxiety is real, even though I'm at a 98%. Oh, geez. If you're at a 98%, come on. That's you're gonna be fine. Go ahead and have fun with that. You're gonna be in there, no problem. All right, next on the list is Gray Man POTA. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing good, and I will say to Captain Hook, if you're getting 98%, you're going to know the answers to the questions after you read 3 words into it, so you will be good to go.
You're fine.
Yeah, staying busy. Like Don, I'm building out the new shack here, the new building, and but I finally got a lot of the grounding stuff in today. I've also got one of those nice boxes that Chris makes to go on the outside of the building, so I need to get all that done, and hopefully we're going to be in the 50s tomorrow with sun, so my goal is to actually do that and get it filmed, and so that's the big thing around here. On a side note, George was talking about the Packtenna 33 masts. Those things are awesome. In my nitpick, but not a problem. It doesn't come with a thing on the top. But I will point out that Adam, our friend Adam, K6ARK, has a printables file that's available with tips that you can print out, and the 4mm tip fits perfectly on the top of that mast.
Oh,
so and it's on printables under his account. So, and he's got like 5 different sizes on there. So it's and they're like in 0.5mm steps. So, if anybody has got one of those and they're looking for a mast, and they're obviously inexpensive. The tips are so, and they're consumable, right? They'll break after a while. So I usually print out 3 or 4 of them and keep them in my bag, and I have them with me.
Very good. We got a number of questions we'll come back to. There's one on a Spiderbeam at 32 feet. They need a way to support it, and something about a mag mount. So hang tight in the chat. We'll get back to you. But next is, well, we've got George. Obviously, we've been talking to George. But George, thank you so much again for hanging out with us, and hang tight. We'll be back to taking questions and all that. If you want to hang out, or if you've got to head out, that's okay too. We appreciate you hanging out with us, though.
Oh yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, Josh.
So right next to you, you're literally sitting right next to him in the voice chat is K Murder, K8MRD, Ham Radio Tube. How you doing, bud?
Is it my turn already?
It's your turn.
Usually it's like an hour.
Well, okay, we can skip it. We'll come back. We'll come back to it. We'll go. Mark Hughes. No. Add some time to it. What are you doing, man? What's going on?
Dude, I had a great past couple days. Yeah, I think it was yesterday. I cleaned out the shack. Mm-hmm. Not so much the shack itself, but the closets in the shack. Reorganized some things.
Yep.
And my feng shui is better. So I'm happy about that.
Reoriented things to the north and south to better align your chakras.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, I 15 years I've been in the design industry. I gotta get my chi, you know?
Yeah.
Interior design, if you will.
They say the poles are shifting, so it's probably a good thing, Mike, that you're redoing this, reorienting.
You know, it doesn't matter. I became a ham at the bottom of the solar cycle in 2016, and now we're at the top of it. And
this is your first go at the intensity, right? So this is your first crack at seeing 10 meters at peak intensity, right?
Yeah, yeah. But even in the bottom of the solar cycle, when I first started this channel, I'm out there making contacts. Like you just got to do it. So today, what a great segue. How are you, by the way, Josh?
I've had all kinds of technical problems today, but other than that, things are going good. I mean, I will say I do like my amplifier here. Got that thing hooked up, and I was chooching along at 500 watts, chasing POTAs from the house. You can't complain about that with no issue. Like it just works. So, yeah.
No touch lamps going off or anything. It's just we saw Leia come in at the end of the last stream. Was that?
I only have problems. Your
RF?
My problems are on 40 meters. My antenna is just too close to the house, and so the fire alarm. There's like one fire alarm that's I think it's one of those ones that's on batteries still. I've moved all of them off to powered off of the home power, But some of those battery ones are really janky, and they seem to just have a nightmare with RF. So I think those are the ones that are causing the problems. But I'll take care of them soon enough.
Golf clubs work really good with just saying.
That's right.
Saying.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I may or may not have done that before. But,
so tell me about your Armalock setup, or where were we? You're going to come back to that?
Well, yeah, now's the time. So I made the video with the Armalock, and everybody watched it, and they love Armalock, and it's awesome, and I love it too. So I don't want to give too much away, but since yesterday, it has just been like storming and raining here. Like nothing big, but like it's wet. It's moist in Houston, Texas. Would you believe that?
I don't know enough about that area, but is it not wet there normally at this time of year?
Houston is one of the most. I think Houston is, if not the most, one of the most humid cities in the United States.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Never mind all that. So today I'm in my shack. I'm doing my thing, and it's raining, and I'm like, I was looking through my emails for Mailbag Monday, but anyway, I'm like, it's raining right now, and I have this awesome like Go kit now, right? Like I want to challenge myself. Mm-hmm. I want to get myself out of my element because it's easy to go to a picnic bench and do a POTA.
Okay. So you did this right in front of the 7-Eleven. POTA activation in front of 7-Eleven.
Hey, guys, big gulps, huh? All right.
Those your skis?
See you later.
Those your skis, Mike?
Well, so
both of them?
Samsonite. I was way off. So I'm like, I want to put myself out of my element. I'm like, and it's literally like I'm sitting at my table as I am right now talking to you, and I'm looking out the windows and it's raining. I'm like, I want to go do a POTA right now in the rain.
Okay, here we go.
To challenge myself. Like for like MCOM, the reason I got into ham radio is one, guns, but MCOM.
Right.
So I wanted to put myself in just a different kind of uncomfortable situation and see if I could make comms. So that's what I did. I went to Sam Houston National Forest and took my 818 and an antenna that I've either never used or have used once. Unfortunately, I didn't take a Packtenna today, George. I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you, I promise. I promise.
Mike, you're dead to me.
He's in the room.
I know.
He's in the room.
I know. So I did that, and I brought a tarp. I'm like, do I need to make a canopy, like a setup? Like I'm
you're going all out. You're
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
So that's what I did today, and so far the video is 37 minutes long. It probably will be. I edited it before the stream. I came home and immediately edited the video. Yeah,
like I have not had that kind of intensity in a long time for editing a video immediately.
I love editing though. I love it.
But like right after you record?
This was so easy to edit though.
Oh, okay.
Because it's just walking through the trails with the camera on you and you're talking and then you put it,
Yeah.
It's easy. Add a couple speed ramps and stuff, whatever. Not speed ramps, but we
don't want to hear about what you need to imbibe before you start editing, Mike.
I gotta get that speed ramp, man.
Gotta get that speed ramp.
So that's what I did. So I went out on a rainy, crappy day, and I challenged myself, and I had a blast. Mm-hmm. And just watch the video. It'll be fun.
Excellent.
It'll be a long one. It's just I think I'm actually done editing the video. Like I don't think I'm gonna add any music. It's just me and the camera and the ham radio and the woods. The very, very dense forest that I'm in.
You know what's great about when you do a hiking video or anything like that is that often you don't need the sound because, to be honest with you, the people watching it probably don't spend a lot of times outdoors, and sometimes just the silence of you just
the only
walking.
reason I would consider putting sound is to slightly mask my out of shape huffing and puffing.
Okay, fair. I've definitely done that before.
But, yeah, I don't think I'm going to. Like, I kind of think I'm done. Like, it's just gonna be a raw video because that's exactly what this activation was.
Mm-hmm.
Was just raw for me anyway. I mean, some people might look at it and laugh. I'm sure they will, but you know, I just wanted to challenge myself a little bit.
That's definitely not why we're out here doing this, Mike. If we made videos to make everybody not laugh, then we wouldn't be successful. Because there's definitely people who cringe on all of our stuff every time, right? That's just the reality of it. Yeah.
For sure. Especially, I actually got a lot of support from the video that I posted yesterday. But there were some guys that were, and I called it at the end of the video, you're going to be a little salty. Because I was talking about the metric system.
Yeah, with your measuring tape one. I saw, dude, that thing was all over my feed, so it's making the rounds. I have not had the time to sit down. Yeah. It looked like it did. So good for you. That's awesome. Yeah.
But, you know, I'm here to talk about the issues. I'm just that. I mean, Josh, you and I know each other well enough personally. Yeah. I'm a guy that's just going to speak it as it needs to be spoke. And sometimes the issues can be difficult to talk about. But I want to be here. I'm that guy that's going to open the dialogue on some of the more unpleasant things like the metric system.
I don't understand why people get so upsetty about it. I don't get it. Like, it's there are some things you'll experience in your life that are standard, imperial or metric, and you just have to have the tool for the job or that's it. And that's it. That's all there is to it.
The one thing that I failed to mention in that video was that in my former job I was with the company for 15 years, it was all metric. So metric is very, you know, like, it's just, I used it literally. I did it for a job. Yeah. It just wasn't a scientific job. It was a tile job. But there's geometry in it, damn it.
Sure, of course. Well, I mean, literally.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
It was sales.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all I got.
There you go.
Hang on. What's the meaning?
Jody just dropped a hot banger of you out doing.
That is not, aside from the galoshes.
Definitely the boots. The boots are spot on. Spot on.
That could be the thumbnail. That could be the thumbnail. Not gonna lie. Thank you, Jody.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. Well, thank you, Mike, for hanging out. I appreciate it. Let's see. Is there any other YouTuber I'm missing? Oh, of course. Mark Hughes is next. How's it going, Mark? Thanks again. Well, you know, this is the first live stream since we did the ARRL telethon. And yeah, a huge thank you to Mike and Mark. Mark, probably the biggest cheerleader of the entire night, and I mean that in the best way possible, in helping to get those numbers up. We were totally successful and beat our goal of basically $20,000, but with matching $40,000, which is just amazing. So, Mark, thank you, and of course Mike too. But Mark, go ahead. How you been, man?
Hey, I am great, and you are, of course, welcome. Happy to do it any time. I would like to share something with Mike about the metric system that an Australian friend shared with me.
Oh, boy.
And he said, don't kink shame. Some people just like feet.
Yeah, and they're creepy as hell.
Okay, next thing I use them with my buddies next time we're together at school.
I'm just saying, he likes razzing me. Boondock is, man, we are undergoing some massive changes. We're trying to go full time next year, which is exciting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know, but some
Good
things
luck.
are going to change.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I've got this last week, a billionaire actually asked for my phone number. He wants a Boondock solution for his racing team. So I'm waiting on that call because, you know, custom stuff, it comes at a premium price. Hope he's not listening. Met with some investors. I met, hopefully, who's going to be my head of sales. So big things are coming. I will advise people, though, there are 11 left in the Crowd Supply / Mouser store. I do not know that we will restock. And if we do, it will be at a higher price. We have to set prices for the year, and we don't know what's going to be happening with tariffs and all that other stuff. So just as an FYI, I don't know when we'll restock. There will be more. I don't know when, and I don't know how much yet. And I don't mean that to scare you. That's just an FYI. Mm-hmm. We've got some major updates in the system software that I'm still waiting on my buddy KC to make a video to explain them all. He's done some amazing things that it's going to radically improve transcription quality for everybody. So a lot of big things happening. I don't have a new video after the Bluetooth hacking one. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. I've got a couple print magazine articles in DigiKey for the last few months. I could share those with you, but we're talking YouTube, so maybe I won't. So, yeah.
Well, thank you.
That Casey guy.
Hey, man, he programs like a mofo. He is incredible.
He does. Yeah, very impressed.
But the trouble is, right, I was like, I just want to stop somewhere and do a release and tell everybody, and he just wants to keep programming.
Right.
So we got to slow him down. But, yeah, he's fantastic.
Very good. Well, thank you, buddy. I appreciate you being out here. All right, I have to take a quick break to go to the restroom, and I got to grab a sweater. It got cold, so it was like 75 degrees today. I think it even got higher than that, almost like to 80. I'm going to talk about my little time. I went and got tires for the truck, and I took all this with me. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but I'm going to come back and answer your questions too, or we will continue to answer your questions. So I already saw those in the chat. If you're watching this at Ham Radio Crash Course or question in the chat, I'll see it because it'll have a special color code, and that's how you get your questions answered. And then we'll come back and answer some Discord questions as we talk with George. All right, you guys just talk for a second. If anybody has questions for George, go ahead, and I will be right back because, again, I got to grab a sweater because the temperatures have dropped. I will be right back.
Yes, Brooks, somebody did say Boondock Echo.
Boondock Echo?
That's what I heard, Tim.
That's what I heard, too. We should ask Josh when he gets back, but I think on that fundraiser on the YouTube, it showed 21-ish and some change thousand. There was a $20,000 match. That's $41,000. And then there were also direct donations that came in directly to the ARRL through their special link for specifically to support the Teachers Institute. And I don't know if that was about another 2,500 or so. So it was a good fundraiser.
Yeah, that was a long day for Josh, though, man. I was only there for like 3/4 of it, and it was getting pretty hard to stay in the seat. Well, should we field some questions while we're here?
Absolutely. Anybody got any questions?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm trying to get one of the last 11, so you'll have to give me a minute.
No problem.
Tim, what are you up to with your shack? What are you doing in there, man?
Well, so right now I've had a bunch of stuff on order. A lot of it's starting to come in, grounding and such. My radio and everything is still in the house. And I'm going to move it over here. I'm also working on some power solutions to run the radios and everything. And I'm looking at trying to get as much of this on 12 volts and on battery and reduce my reliance on mains. So that's kind of what I'm going to be working on this winter. I'm hoping with tomorrow getting up in the 50s that I'm able to get the outdoor work done.
Yeah, I've got almost everything on 12 volts. Of course, the amp has to run off mains, and it's only half power, so it's a legal limit amp, but it only transmits up to 500 watts because I'm running it on 120. But everything else, except a few items, are on 12 volt. And I'll tell you, one of those few items is giving me the flux on my 2 meters. It's making noise, and I can't quite I haven't dedicated time to figuring out which one it is. But there's a switch mode, wall wart, pain in the neck that's in there somewhere, and I gotta find it and get rid of it. I gotta root it out.
All right, I'm back. Thanks everybody for running interference. Man, I feel much better. I can do just about anything if I can get cozy. Hey, Jody, take it easy, man. 73 to you. I think you might already be gone, but good to see you. Okay, let's go back up and we'll take a couple of questions here because I saw a couple of them. Are you guys in the middle of one? Did I step in something?
Yes, Josh, real quick. I'd kind of mentioned some rough numbers and what I remembered from the what I saw. But do you have a final total on the money that was raised from the telethon?
I don't have a final, but I'm waiting to get it from Steve. But I know we passed our goal of 20,000.
Okay, yeah, I saw that. It looked like it was about 21,000 is what was being reported on the YouTube page, and I know they also received direct donations too.
Yeah, so if we're showing 21,000, then there's probably another 1,000 kicking around on the direct donations. So the question is, will the generous donors that we're doing the matching, will they match anything above 20? That'd be cool if they did. We'll see. I don't know. Oh, I've got a kind of a news story too. I have to pull that up here in a minute. It's about that the new Currahee, the mountain topper Currahee that we're kind of all waiting on right now. There's been some developments there, but all right. So from James T. Boy, James, I hope you've been kicking around and hanging out because it's been probably 30 minutes since you asked this question. I have a Spiderbeam 32-foot mast coming, and I'm needing a way to support it. So this is a great time to mention our Discord. So the reason this question is a good question, but this question is usually something that has multiple follow-on questions, like, are you mounting this up against a house? Will you be using the house to balance it, or use some kind of tether mounting structure on the house? Does this need to be freestanding? Are you guying it? I don't know. It could be on the side of a motorhome for all I know. So a 32-foot mast, you're going to likely, if it's freestanding, you're going to have to guy it. There's a ton of different guy plates you can get. Does anybody have a 32-foot Spiderbeam mast? Do they have guy plates that come with it?
There are ones you can buy for it. I think they look like those little plastic rings or rubber rings with little rubber things that come off of it, and you can buy them for different sizes of their masts.
So he's in the chat. He says strictly portable. Well, if you're strictly portable, then guy ring, guy lines at least 3, right, around the outside. There's a myriad of ways you can go with the stakes or the different types of mount structures that you want to do for the ground. It depends also on the ground you're using. I like to bring my little 12-volt M12 Milwaukee impact gun, and I've got a couple of stakes. This is for the hex beam, for my buddy hex more than anything, but I use those corkscrew mounts, and I just gun them into the ground, and I tee off of those things. That's the best way I know of. Does anybody have any thoughts to add to that?
Comment?
Yeah, I use the K8 MRD mounting solution where I just lean it up against the tree.
Well, but it's a 32.
Works great.
But it's a 32-foot mast.
That's what I use.
That's peanuts.
Peanuts? Peanuts, he says.
You can lean a 43-foot mast in a tree.
It would depend on how tall the tree is. You could go higher than that if you need to.
I guess it also depends.
It matters more at the base.
But the Spiderbeam's masts are kind of wide diameter. They're larger masts, right? They're not like the K8 MRD special. We're talking about a little bit.
I've got the 12 meter one
for Spiderbeam.
Yeah,
and you just shove it into a tree.
Sure.
Okay.
I have. I did a review of that antenna, or of that mast rather, the Spiderbeam's 12 meter.
Okay.
And in that video I showed multiple antennas and multiple configurations, one of which was guying. Okay. Guying was actually the most difficult way.
Oh. Sure. Well, sure.
If you're using it, but I used a dipole. I used the Packtenna dipole. Mm-hmm. I used a Packtenna end-fed half-wave. I used the Chameleon LEFS with the feed point all the way up, because that's how Chameleon says they recommend to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, just watch my video on that 12-meter Spiderbeam mast. But yeah, 100% leaning it into a tree absolutely works.
There you go. There was another comment in there. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, if you ever look up if the gentleman has a look up into the antenna section and asks M0JO, who has one of those masts and regularly uses it to do POTA, much like Mike does, and that's his solution. He uses one of those all the time, and he has various solutions for holding it to the ground. One of us is a drive-over plate is another way, but you have to buy one that's, like you said, they are a bit thicker than normal, so you do have to buy one with the appropriate girth for the antenna. But yeah, ask Rob, because Rob will come up with a half a dozen ideas, and he's one of the antenna mentors up in the chat.
Yeah,
so that's what I was going to say.
That's reminiscent looking of a DX Commander pole. Is it the same diameter or is it a little thinner? The Spiderbeam.
Oh, it's thicker.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, there you go. James T, link is posted. It looks like, yeah, posted, so you can check that out. Very good. I like the answers. Good.
Hey,
What's
Josh,
next?
I have a quick suggestion.
Yeah, George, your audio dropped out big time. Can you get a little closer to the mic?
Okay, let's try this.
Yeah, go for
There's
it.
It helps if the mic's in front of your mouth. So you mentioned the Buddy Hex, and our club just bought the Buddy Hex and the Mastworks tripod and mast. And I think for any kind of mid-sized directional antenna, that Mastworks tripod and mast is a really nice setup.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Don't have to use a Buddy Hex necessarily on it, although it snaps on there. But I think if you just want to buy something off the shelf that's about the right size and weight that you can carry it around, I think that's a winner.
That is a very good mast, but I call that a field day mast or a weekend camping mast. This is not the backpack, I'm going to be out there for a couple of hours solution from my point of view.
Wow, taking out a hex beam for a couple of hours seems like kind of a interesting choice to begin with then.
Well, he said Spiderbeam. Spiderbeam mast. So Spiderbeam, so it's yeah. So Spiderbeam is the company, and the mast is just it's a telescoping mast with no collars, no retention collars. It's just you can see the link in the chat that they dropped to Mike's video, but it's just a larger telescoping mast. It's not that big.
Oh, I was thinking it was the like a hex beam antenna.
No, it's not like that. Well, Spiderbeam does sell that. It's a cobweb though. Even though they're called Spiderbeam, it's a cobweb, from what I was told.
I thought it was a 3-element beam.
Somebody said they have it.
It's a 3-element beam, Josh.
Then why did? Then literally somebody in my chat said it was a cobweb, and I'm like, "Are you sure?" And they're like, "No, yeah, it's a cobweb. I have one." I'm like,
"Nope,"
because a cobweb's like it's omnidirectional. Like, okay, good. So that I had always thought that it was directional. So I'm glad to hear. 3 elements. So what is it? Just 20, 15, 10, or what is it?
No, I believe it goes. It's just like a hex beam, but
okay.
The way they lay out the wires is completely different. I looked at them for a long time and then decided no, I'd just get a hex beam mainly because those things they have to come from Europe and they look really complicated to me to actually put together. But it is a series of like 3 wires. And the way that they do it, it ends up in this big, circle thing, but you get 3 elements out of it. I need to look again and see, because I think you can buy them like with 1 band, 2 bands, 3 bands, 4 bands, and I need to look and see, because it's been a long time since I've looked at them, if they go to all 6 bands that the hex beam does. By the way, my hex beam took a tumble. And I have 3 broken
you told us.
In my hex beam. Oh, okay.
I talked to Chris.
I talked to Chris, but I haven't. He's not said anything to me that he's mailed out those parts because. But
that sounds like Chris. Send him a message again. Remind him.
Yeah, I probably need to ping him again because the last message I sent to him was, "Oh, okay. Here's the little printout I sent of where I sent you the PayPal receipt, basically." So.
Oh, yeah.
So
send him a message.
I need to ping him again.
All right. Yeah. All right, next question. Blue Ox 02 says, question, do mag mounts require bonding on a car trunk? So when you say mag mount, I'm going to assume like a VHF, UHF antenna, but it could be HF. So for VHF, UHF, you shouldn't need it, depending on the size of the trunk. If your radio's not upset at you and you don't have like an antenna analyzer, then it's going to be hard for you to check. But most of the time, mobile radios and HTs are pretty resilient to that. You should be fine with a mag mount. Those are my thoughts. If you're doing HF, though, you may need more, depending on which band you are, like if you're running a ham stick on low frequencies or something like that. This is a good one. Aha! Noble Team Leader says, I have a question. I'm on a tight budget. Sub 200. Thank you for including your budget. No nonsense. Just give me what you need to stay under. And want to get into 10 meters. So, again, this is one of those tricky ones because are you just talking radio? Are you talking all-in radio, antenna, battery, coax, right? That's difficult to do. So the answer is it depends. The radio that I would recommend you get is like the QT80 over at Radioddity if you wanted like a monoband job. But there's two other radios that fit this mold kind of. The True SDX is like $135 built. You can get those off like Amazon. And, you can get the kit off of Amazon for 10 meters. I think only the low bands are the ones you can get pre-built right now. But then there's also that Radioddity job. And that Radioddity job, is it sub 200? I don't think so.
Yes, I literally just recommended that radio.
The one that you reviewed?
On Monday. The one you G106.
Reviewed?
The one we reviewed.
But the one that you had the review on.
They sent me another one after that, and I did that too. But yes, that Zygu G106.
Because you had a first heavy round with that radio.
Never mind. It's $199. So to answer this question, if the question is just about the money for the radio, and that the True SDX that you recommended, like those are the radios that are in that price range.
Yeah.
So that's the way to answer that question without all the you could get this for that and spend a couple $100 more, you get a G90. That's it. Those are the radios that are in that. So
the problem. The problem, too, is battery then in this case, right? Because how the heck are you going to try and cram a battery into that budget? That's crazy.
Here we are speculating.
Right.
The question was only about the radio.
There you go. Yeah, sure. But that's the thing is everybody, you can't wait for them to come back. You gotta reply.
In my years in sales, I've been taught to answer the question.
Interesting.
It's more shut up and listen.
Mm-hmm.
But if your question is about what sub $200 radio can I buy, here's my answers: the Zygu 106 or the True SDR that you recommended. That's it. Those are the radios.
As an engineer, you get told to answer the question, but then inevitably they will have follow-on questions that they want you to answer immediately.
But see, I'm good with people, damn it. I take the specifications from the customer.
I take the requirements.
And I bring them to engineers.
That's right. I have people skills, damn it. I think I missed some questions. I think I got most of them, though. Yeah. Okay, we're down to the bottom here almost. Yes, question. Good. This is a good one for George. George, how much separation between transmit and receive can a 222 repeater be set up given that 222 cans are likely unobtainium?
Okay, so you're talking about using a separate receive and transmit.
That's what it sounds like.
So the first question is, do you mount them vertically or horizontally? And the reason that's an important question is that if you mount the antennas vertically, you'll get more isolation to start with. Mm-hmm. And if you mount them horizontally, they'll tend to interfere more with each other for a given distance. So vertically, it's like most things, the further apart, the better in this case. So it also depends on how much power you're running and how selective the receivers are, which I don't know. So let's just make some broad generalizations. I would imagine vertical separation is probably going to be at least 20 feet to get some some kind of reasonable separation between them, and horizontally probably 100 or a couple hundred feet. But it's not ideal, and you probably want to fish around and see if you can find any kind of even notch filters or something to keep the opposite side out of the radio. So I don't know where you'd find 220 filters these days, unless there's something used on eBay. But that's kind of a hard thing to find.
We're
You could try to
losing you a
make
little
your
bit
own
on the audio. Are you in front of the mic?
You could. There we go. I moved it again. More better.
Way better. Yeah.
Okay. So I was just saying, vertical separation, you're probably looking at least 20, 30 feet. Horizontal separation, probably a couple hundred feet to get kind of reasonable performance. But it depends on the power, too, that you're running.
There you go. All right. So WCES846 asks, what is a good 2 meter, 70 centimeter mobile for beginner? I will have a budget of $200. $200 for a 2 meter, 70 centimeter mobile. So my go
8900.
20, what was that?
The TYT 8900.
Is that $200?
Yeah.
That's
You should be able to get it for $200.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, so the 8900 is actually quad band. It does 10 meters, 6 meters, and 2 and 70, which unfortunately is text. You can't use 10 meters, but or TYT. I don't know if they make it anymore, but I think TYT did a 2 meter or a 2-band version and called it the 8800. Like they legit ripped off Yaesu, but the 8900 100% for $200. I've owned 3 of them.
I would be very tempted to suggest that an externally mounted antenna and a 5-watt HT might be a competitive alternative.
Not for the power output.
I ran that when I just became a ham, as I'm sure many of us did. You know, you get your Baofeng and then you get the little outside antenna. But really having an actual proper mobile radio like the TYT 8900, you've got 2 bands, 1 band on each side. So you're monitoring 2 bands. It's 50 watts. The receiver arguably could be better. Probably is. But it's just, they're 2 different things made to do 2 different things. Can you make an HT a mobile radio? Sure. But is it going to be as good as a mobile radio? Probably not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I am seeing the 7900, which I think that's exactly what you're talking about. That's just the dual band model. It's on Amazon for like $220.
Radioddity has the TYT 9800 plus for like $239, and that's a quad band FM.
So let me show you this one real fast, since we're right here, this guy. That's not a bad radio, and to Mike's point, I ran this radio. So that's the 9800, but there's also the 7900 that I dropped. I ran the 9800. I think I've ran that in a vehicle for over 5 years, and it worked totally fine. It's totally an acceptable radio. Worked great. Never got a complaint on my audio or anything like that.
You see that it's $203. The one right above it at the top of the page. PYT 9800 quad band, cross band. It does cross band.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm showing. Yeah. 203. Yeah. There you go. You might have to play around a little bit with Amazon to find it, but yeah. There you go. Otherwise, I'd say if you can save a little bit, get a 2730 from ICOM. Good, very good analog radio. Does crossband repeat. Okay. Oh, question from Sean. What is the ICOM equivalent of the Yaesu FT60? What is it? That T something? Who's got that one? ICOM T something. I'll pull it up right now. Oh, wrong site. Hold on.
Yeah, I think I won one of those at a ham fest and I gave it away.
What is the one? Somebody yell it out to me when you. They have 2 meters.
T10 or something.
T10? Is it the T10? What is going on here? Just show me
The T10 is the closest thing. Right?
I think so. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. ICT10. That's it. That's about the closest thing to an FT60 you can get. It's a little bit newer too. That doesn't mean in this case that it's like better, but it does have a waterproof rating. The FT60 does not. The FT60 is an older radio at this point. Still good. They still sell a buttload of them. A bootload, B-U-T-T-E load.
They still make the V80?
I don't know. I don't know what that radio is now that I think about it.
Or V86. It might be 86 now.
Yeah, the V86, U86 monobanders. The V80 is discontinued a while ago.
All
I
right.
have a question that maybe Mike could help answer since he's here.
Yeah, go for it.
So Mike knows it gets cold up here in Wisconsin, and we've had an unseasonably cold already, and I've already got 4 inches of ice. And getting out ice fishing, I also want to take ham radio. Do I need more radials if I'm set up on the ice, or just a normal mount?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, he said Mike.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that, since you're familiar with frozen tundra?
You're familiar with setting up antennas on ice, Mike?
Would you believe
He has a
that
video.
I actually did a video on that years ago?
Okay. What did you
I
find
was,
in your radial testing?
I took my Wolf River coils out on Middle Straits Lake, and I walked out on the ice, and I set it up with the 333-foot radials, tuned it, and made some contacts. Like, this was before Parks on the Air. Like, this is just, I want to go portable with radio, and it was a beautiful day, and it was like 4 o'clock, and I got off work, and it was still sunny. And this is early winter too, but the lakes had already frozen over enough to go on, and actually dropped my 891 legit just head slammed into the snow because I got off my chair and the radio weighed enough to just pull it down. Didn't care. 891 just took it.
So
But
just normal amount of radials is what you're saying?
That's what I did. I only did it once, and I did it, and it worked. And your mileage may vary.
Yeah,
How
there
about
you go.
this? Why don't
Try
you try it
Yeah.
and experiment and let us know, and we'll expect your results by next Saturday. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Do whatever's right
Nice.
for your radio.
Just try it. Try it. That's the biggest thing, dude. If you ever, this is just me. If I ever have a question like, would this work? Just try it.
Yeah.
Other than like, don't plug 120 volts into your radio. That won't be good. You know.
You're sitting there watching your tip ups. I'm like, well, heck, I might as well throw an antenna up and place the radio while I'm waiting for my
Exactly. Oh, there it is. Don just posted it. Frozen Lakes on the Air.
There you go.
In the Discord there. So yeah,
I
go
love
Detroit
that
Red
video.
Wings.
Next week, after you make your report, you will be forever known as a special field correspondent.
So this is an interesting one from Steven. Oh, yeah. Thank you for the question, by the way, Katie9. Is there a decent mobile VHF UHF radio under $400 that has 2 frequency displays, meaning one display showing both channels, that shows both name and frequency at the same time?
FTM 200. I have one, and I set it up in the quote-unquote dual receive, even though it only does one frequency or the other, and it displays name, frequency, and S-meter signal.
For both A and B channel?
Yeah, I might have a photo of it. Let me take a look.
Oh, if you got a photo, that's even
He's
better.
not wrong, because I've got the FTM 300 in my car, and I believe it does that as well.
There you go.
And I paid $379 for it, but that was at a ham fest, so it's probably like right at for it. Whatever, the FTM 300 is like, it's under $400. And it does APRS.
Ted is saying the 200 is discontinued.
Yeah,
Discontinued.
they discontinued the 200, but it looks like they're still going to be in stock. According to DX Engineering, they're expecting a new stock by the 30th. Also, the 300 does it as well, and that one does crossband and true dual receive. A friend of mine who's a little older, ham in the club, has one, and I like it. The menu, I don't like how the menu isn't in a list. You have to go to the menu and then another menu, but still a good radio.
Yeah, that sounds like Yaesu Deep F menu territory.
Interesting, because I actually like the new menus on the FTM 300.
So I will say, if we're talking used radio, or since the FTM 200 is going to get discontinued at some point, if you can get your hands on an FTM 450, get it, because it'll do it, and that'll run you pretty much all you want. I love that radio. All right. I think we got, we're caught up on questions. Very good. So if you have any questions, make sure to post them in the chat, or if you're on Discord here, we skipped over the newbie call because, by the way, if you normally hang out with us, anytime we do a live stream after chat, we generally go first to newcomers and take their questions live. But since we did an interview with our special guest, George, we wanted to make sure we took time to answer his questions. But if there are people who are here for the first time on Discord and would like to say hi and you're in the voice chat, come forward now, and if you have a question, we'll take your priority traffic, we'll call it at this time. Anybody new that'd like to say hi or ask a question, go ahead.
Hello, I'm new. I think.
Yeah, I can hear you. You're coming in loud and clear. Well, how you doing?
Good. I'm newish, but I'm getting into the veteran status soon. Last time I spoke with you, I was looking for an HF radio. I finally found one, the Yaesu FT-DX10.
Okay.
And I also got a 2-meter radio, the FT-70.
Nice.
Josh, it's happening again. The buzzing.
All right.
The gremlins are back.
So.
Stand. By.
Everybody?
Computer problem. Yeah, it's going great.
Good. I'm excited that I think I told you, Don, that I got that Yaesu FT-DX10 last time we spoke.
All right.
So
I'm back.
I'm just getting there. Yes, Josh, I was just saying that I got the Yaesu FT-DX10 from the HRO Anaheim.
Oh, nice.
And I told them that tell Josh I was here, Mr. G. So
excellent.
And they said that you come in there often. So just saying that I'm new and getting ready to start learning from all you guys now.
Well, Mr. G, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you hanging out, and good to know you're in my local turf, so maybe I'll see you at the HRO in the future. Yeah, you picked some good radios? What's that?
It would be an honor to do that.
Thank
you.
Well,
I think I told the sorry to cut you off. As well as the last time I spoke with you, you were with the panel of the Ham Radio 2.0, and I was asking since the Yaesu FT-DX10 does not do 2 meters or 70 centimeters, I was asking what handheld radio can I get, because I don't want to use anything in my mobile car. So I got the FT-DX10. The FT-70, and I'm also, thinking just to learn from all you guys now that I can do things. And I'm currently studying for my general.
Well, right on. Good, very good. Keep going at that, and you'll be there in no time. Yeah, you'll do fine with those radios, so you're good to go. So thanks for joining us out here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you. All right, we got a super chat from Gear Related. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Studying for my technician test now, really enjoying your license prep videos. Any recommendations for beginner radios? So gear related, we got a long-standing follow-on question, as always, is what's your budget, right? Because there are different qualities of beginner radios. I will say I have purchased a tiny TID radio. People are calling these the titties. I just noticed that I saw a comment on that they call them titties. TIDDYs, titties. That way of spelling. It's a tiny radio. $37 with 2 batteries and like 2 antennas on Amazon for Black Friday. That's really cheap. I haven't tested this out fully for spurious emissions or anything like that, and I've had issues with them in the past. But to be honest with you, $18 Baofeng on Amazon, man. It's there. You can get one right now. It's probably next day delivery. Great beginner radio, because at $18, who cares? You'll upgrade it. And then there you go. You upgrade it, and you still got a backup radio. It's fantastic. I don't know what your budget is though, so I'll hang tight if you got a comment on that. But yeah, that's that's kind of what I tell people all the time. Beginner radio, just get yourself an $18 Baofeng, and if you like it, you spent no money, and you can upgrade it later.
Hey Josh, I have a TID radio myself, and I love it. It sounds good. It talks really well.
Hey. Yeah, there you go. Like them titties. So, yeah, I don't know. What can I say? 37. I don't even know if it was it 37? I think it was on Amazon. 2 batteries though. I'm always down for 2 batteries, and I will give a shout out. This radio does something that I've not seen a lot of. So it's got a USB-C on the battery. Here you go. Come on, get in there. There you go. USB-C on the battery, and also a USB-C port on the side. And I haven't tested it. I can test it right now, actually. Let's do that. Will it charge off the USB-C on the side? Let's see. I think that's just programming.
It will not charge on the USB on the side.
No, it's just programming.
On the bottom and in the dock.
Yeah. But the screen's pretty nice, too. I don't know about how well it would look. Oh, boy. Nope. I don't know how well that would look in the daytime, but not bad. And there you go. You could even have like 2 channels, and you could display the name on probably your A channel, whatever, or the primary channel you're listening to. But yeah, good radio. Cool. And it's clear. That's the most important thing. It's clear. Hopefully we can answer your question. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate the super chat. Oh, this is one for Mike. Where is it? Question. What's a good long-term home end-fed half-wave with a budget of up to $150?
Packtenna in a box.
Packtenna in a box. There you go. Will that do? You'll do 100 watts. No problem with the Packtenna, right?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Uh-oh, Mike. I heard a screaming Mike in the background. What the?
Sorry, it was Satan was beckoning me that it was treat time, so I was away from the desk.
Very important questions for what kind of.
I have in-ears, so I'm listening. I've got wireless in-ear monitors. You see.
Well, I'll have to know the answer of what is Satan's favorite treats after you answer this question. So yeah, Mike, okay. What is a long-term end-fed half-wave up to $150 to spend?
So I use Tennas, TENN tennas. Walt from Tennessee. Just search 10 tennas on eBay. He just makes these 3D printed 240, 43 end-fed half-waves. They're like $40. You got to put your wire on it. You got to tune it, all that. That's what I use.
That's great.
Nelson antennas on eBay. Size Up, though. Get the high-power one because he rates... They're fantastic antennas. I just don't like the power rating that he puts on them. So like there's one that he rates for like 75 watts. It'll do it for like a minute, but then it gets heated and SWR goes to hell. So get the 240, 43 version, like the high power version. But Nelson antennas, fantastic quality. Those are the two that I use. Like, I mean, you can spend a stupid amount of money on other brands But at the end of the day, it's magnet wire wrapped around a toroid with an SO239 on one end and a wire connection at the other. So
I would like to echo Mike's sentiment of whichever end fed you're looking at. If you have a 100-watt radio, size it up. Size up the toroid, the transformer that's in it. Because
I say that because it was getting saturated when I was doing FT8, and I knew that it was a 140-43, the same toroid that's on a Packtenna, which George rates at 50 watts for FT8, and I do 50 watts FT8 on a Packtenna all day long because that's what that toroid can handle. So yeah,
having been
look for the toroid and how much power you want to use.
Having been on the end of an end fed, if you will, and I'm doing WinLink and I'm trying to find a node, a gateway that can hear me, and constantly saturating that thing and having to dial the power back to like 35, 45 watts on a 100-watt antenna. There's nothing wrong with that. You can still make that work, particularly on FT8. There's no problem with that. But it's nice to know if you need the 100 watts that you got a transformer that won't saturate and then no longer be able to handle that. And you'll see your SWR climb up like crazy if that happens too, which can be alarming the first time you see that happen. So keep that in mind.
So, a quick comment, Josh?
Yeah, please.
So you said, well, size that up, and maybe it'd be useful to talk about like, well, what does that mean? So if you want to make a toroidal transformer heavier duty, you could use a larger core. You can also stack multiple cores. So in other words, instead of the wire looping through one donut, imagine stacking two donuts and looping through both of them as if they were one. That will also help in terms of reducing the saturation in the core. So a larger wire, of course, helps too. So all those things to mechanically beef it up will make it work better at higher power.
100%.
Let me make one more final statement. 100% the Nelson antennas is like waterproof. I just bought another 10 antennas because they're just 3D printed. You know, they're $40 for the transformer kit, right?
Yeah.
The tab that holds it up broke off, so I bought another one, and so keep that in mind. The Nelson antennas is a higher quality in every way, shape, or form, but the 10 antennas is a fantastic like budget antenna. So you're going to spend $200 for the Nelson. You're going to spend $40 for the 10 antennas. But with the 10 antennas, you need to put your own wire on it and tune it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried one of the Ballon Designs 49-to-1s?
That is a negative, Ghost Rider.
Those are rated at a kilowatt, and that's what I run. But anyway, they're out of Denton, Texas.
Okay.
Good to know.
Anyway, I was just going to say I'll show it to you when you come down.
So another question we got in the YouTube chat from Lee Waters says, what is a great antenna for mobile application and an open FTM 500, my first ham radio? I'm currently looking at the Comet 2X4SR NMO. Well, now you're definitely in my territory because I did a shootout against the Comet antennas on an NMO mount. And we did a comparison test against the signal-to-noise ratio coming back to a receiver in my home. So this isn't like SWR numbers or anything like that. It's literally taking all the antennas in the field, talking into them, and then receiving on the other end, my receiving station about half a mile or so from that location, and comparing the signal-to-noise ratios. And I believe that antenna was the top performer. The NMO, specifically the NMO 2X4SR. Very good antenna. So you're in fine company there. Now, it doesn't matter. So NMO mount is the flat mount, but if it was the SO239 or whatever, that's fine too, or PL259, sorry. That's fine too. It's going to be the same performance pretty much. But caveat. It also depends on how you have the antenna mounted. performance is going to depend on how good of a mount system you have. So if you're putting up a mobile antenna like this, you should do a bit of research into that. So the guys who do the installs on, first responders and all that stuff will tell you, pop a hole in your vehicle and put an NMO in there, and that's going to be the best way, right in the center of the roof of your vehicle. And that's probably a true statement, but I've had a ton of good luck with lip mounts on the hood or on the rear hatch if you have a hatchback, and I also have a ridiculously expensive rear tail light mount for my truck that works fantastically, and I've had no problems with it. So that's a good choice for the antenna, by the way. Yeah, NMO is a fantastic antenna mount. If you can do it, I would recommend migrating to NMO on your mobile applications from my point of view for VHF, UHF.
Comment.
Go ahead, comment.
Yeah, so I have some mag mounts with NMO antennas. And I also reached out to my buddy who is the public safety installer up here. And he said for the best bet if you're going to do multiple antennas, like I do, I have a FTM 200 in the truck and then a Harris Public Safety. 3/4 of a wavelength in 3 directions from a distance from a different antenna will give you the best chance of antenna spacing so that you're not interfering with the other radios and they're not close enough together that you don't receive well. And after doing that, it's been phenomenal. I have I don't remember what the brand is. It was a gift from a buddy in the ham club. It's probably about 16 inches tall, and it receives this repeater probably about 30 miles and on the other side of a 10,000-foot mountain. Low reference, I sit at 8,000 feet. Almost as good as my Diamond 3 dB gain on 2 meters antenna at the house.
There you go. Cool.
So yeah, just a little bit of my stuff, and I do have a couple questions when you guys get a chance.
No, you caught me at the right time. We're at the bottom of the heap here, so let's take them. What's your question? Go for it.
So yeah, George touched a little bit on 220, and I kind of forgot about 220, if I'm going to be honest.
A lot of people do. Yeah.
Okay, so glad I don't feel too bad. And I'm a big MCOM guy. After working as a dispatcher for the Forest Service and all that stuff, I've been looking at some of those deployable repeaters where you take a couple cheapo mobiles and put them in a Pelican case. My question is, would 220 be a good repeater linking option for 2-meter repeaters and 70 centimeter repeaters?
Yes, actually, it would be really good because you're not going to interfere with the portable repeaters. They'll be far enough away in frequency that they'll be pretty well isolated. So yeah, it'd be really good. The tricky part is going to be to find the duplexers. As somebody mentioned earlier, where could I get a 220 duplexer? And that's going to be the biggest challenge. The alternative to that is, are you running both 2-meter and UHF repeaters?
I'm not sure yet. I was playing with it, reached out to the regional Aries corresponder for my area. He's in charge of all of Northwest Colorado, and he said he wants a couple VHFs. So I was kind of planning on building some that are capable of both. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Kind of had to pump the brakes because after the wreck this summer, my truck was like, hey, you're broken. I'm going to get broken too.
Oh, man. Well, so one of the things to think about is it's much easier to build a UHF portable repeater than a 2-meter portable repeater. And it really comes down to the duplexer because on UHF, we have typically a 5 megahertz spacing between receive and transmit. And you can get a mobile duplexer with a 5 megahertz split that gives you enough isolation that it would work, no problem. On 2 meters, we have a 600 kilohertz split. And it's impossible to find a mobile duplexer that'll work at that narrow a split on 2 meters. And then you might say, well, how is that? Because you can buy a VHF commercial repeater. How in the world will that work? But we can't. And the answer is because VHF portable repeaters usually have about an 8 megahertz split between, let's say, 152 to 150. 9 megahertz, that sort of thing. And we don't have that luxury in the ham band. So you'll never find a mobile repeater with a 600 kilohertz separation. So what that means, if you're running a 2-meter portable repeater, you have to run split antennas, which is a big pain in the neck and not very performant, or you're going to have to lug around a base station duplexer, which is huge. So bottom line is VHF portable repeaters is not easy. Sometimes what you'll see is like, well, there's a Motorola Forest Service portable repeater in a suitcase. How could they do it? And that's because they have a big frequency split. So
Sorry, go ahead.
So the practical reality is the best thing for portable repeaters is UHF, because you can get the equipment and it'll perform perfectly fine. And then for your linking, then you have a couple of options. You can actually link in band. So if you are, let's say, using a 440 to 450 regular repeater split for the repeater, we're really fortunate in the US that we can go down to 420 megahertz, and you can run, let's say, a 420 end of the band link between the repeaters. And depending on the duplex and the amount of power, that would work pretty well.
Yeah, I just dropped a link in the chat for 220 VHF duplexers. Bridgecom sells them.
Like mobile duplexer size?
I assume so. I don't know as much as you do, George. Bridgecom sells repeaters for 220, and I figured they had to have the cans, and they do. But I don't know what. Yeah, I couldn't tell you anything about them.
Yeah,
but
really
you can look at the ad. It's.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what they got. Let's see. So they have a Bridgecom BCD 220 duplexer that looks kind of like a mobile duplexer for $995. Yeah, so that's it's a little sporty. So it looks like a mobile duplexer, 4-cavity. What, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cavity mobile duplexer. So performance-wise would be pretty good. It's just expensive. So this is $995. If you did it on UHF, you can get probably similar performance for about $100. Oh, this is 85 dB isolation. That's pretty good. So yeah, so this is a decent mobile duplexer or portable duplexer.
All right, thanks, George. And you're not kidding about the LMR split. Working at Dispatch, I actually was able to get my hands on a copy of our field guidebook with the repeaters and the frequencies and everything. My favorite repeater, the split is receive in the 169 range, and then the transmit in the 164 range. So yeah, the split is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's really nice. Now, in that case, if they're running a base station repeater, you can get a really good set of cavities, even a narrower split. But the problem is you just can't get that in a mobile duplexer.
Yeah, sounds good. And then question for Josh: do you still have that Motorola XDS 5000?
The handheld? Yeah, I do.
How do you like?
Well, I haven't made a video on it, so I haven't put together all my thoughts on it. I bought it mainly as a P25 machine. Really, because we have a couple of really good P25 repeaters out here with really strong community. But at the same time, I'm still of many minds about Motorola. The radios are top quality. There's no question. The material is fantastic. It's very good. The front panel programmable devices are the only way to go. I would specify that in a video. If you don't, as a ham, if you don't have a front panel programmable, oh my God, get out of here. The programming situation is still a bit kludgy. It's almost it's easier than DMR from my point of view, but at the same time, if you did not ever experience DMR and never learned how to program DMR, you'd come into P25 or a radio that required that programming suite and be like, what the heck is going on? And I can say all this because Frank isn't here. So Frank is not going to fight me on any of this stuff, but it sounds great. I actually think P25 sounds pretty good. If you got
Does
a good
does
repeater.
anybody have Frank's phone number? Should we text him really quick?
He might be working right now. I don't know that he can actually be here.
For sure. I'm sure he would stop to.
Yeah, he
engage
might.
in this.
He'd pull the train over to actually call me up and be like, "You son of a bitch! What are you talking about, Motorola?" No, they're very good radios. There's no question. It's just it's a more ratcheted down experience than I enjoy in my radio. I want a wide-banded, loosey-goosey little radio that lets me program whatever I want into it. And the Motorola's are a little bit more fussy about that. Again, front panel programmable, it solves a lot of problems, though.
And are you using FPP to program it completely, or are you using the computer software a little bit?
Both ways. I've done it both ways, and I find that the front panel is way faster to program, particularly for a repeater, than using the software.
Oh, yeah, by far. And I was actually baptized by fire a little bit. I was taught Motorola P25 computer programming before I even discovered my TYT and did DMR.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, that internship paid off. I'm just going to say that. And then was it a 380 to 470, or did you get the 136 to 174 VHF?
I got... Oh, crap. I don't remember what I got. It's the the UHF version. I'm pretty sure it's UHF. It's all UHF.
I have two BK P25 conventionals sitting here in VHF that I everyday carry, and they're heavy, but they're reliable to say the least.
Very reliable. By the way, the battery specs on that thing, it runs all day. I have the encryption chip in it. Not that I'm doing anything with that. It's a fully loaded radio. Like if this was 10 years ago or whenever that radio was apropos to first responders, it would have been thousands of dollars, right? And I think I bought it for a couple of $100 off of eBay.
We're a volunteer fire up here, and I just turned 18 and turning in my paperwork Monday to join.
Oh,
and
wow.
We still run
buddy.
those. Yeah, thanks. We still run those primarily, but we know for a fact that the state system that the public safety's on is going to shut those down here in about 5 years. So we're scrambling a little bit to get the new APXs, and those come with a pretty hefty price tag, to say the least.
I mean, in 5 years, those are going to come down a lot. The radio, the 5000 is fine. It's good. It's good. It's a good radio. I have really no complaints about it. It's dead simple. And to be honest, when you're out there doing the job, you don't want to be mucking around with a radio. I'm the guy who mucks around with the radio because I'm just a hobbyist of all of this, right? So I want a radio that has all this extra features and all this other stuff, but when you're actually doing a first responder type job, you're not going to want all that crap. So I understand why they exist, and they're very good at what they do. So there's no complaints from me for that. It's my very niche, super nerd. I want to email through my handheld type crap that I do. You know what I mean? So don't even worry about it. It's a fantastic radio from all your standpoints, I think.
Yeah, and I agree. We don't have 5000s with the fire department. We have the 2500s, which are the lighter, couple less feature versions of that, and I love them. Even before I joined the fire department, probably 2-3 years ago when my dad joined, I went to one fire training with him, and I was nominated radio maintenance. So.
Nominated radio maintenance. Well, you should hang out when our buddy Shane is out here. Shane and the Frank Wilderness Outdoors Frank is the one I'm talking about. He's working right now, unfortunately, but he's the guy you want to have as a backup line on our Discord. You can text him anytime, DM him, and he generally responds to everybody. He also has a YouTube channel. Anybody who can grab that and post his YouTube channel to Frank Ham Radio Outdoors YouTube channel, check it out. If they could do that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I will.
Thank you, Don.
Sounds good. And I had to do a little deep digging, but I did find a picture of my 200 with the dual receive and showing all that.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had to go to my YouTube channel, so I'm gonna drop a screenshot of my YouTube video. So yeah, and I don't think I meet the qualifications to be part of the YouTube gang quite yet, but I'm working on it.
There you go, buddy. There you go. Right on. Yeah, Frank, who dropped it? Oh, the Brocam did. Thank you for that. Let me see. Yeah. So real quick, I will transition to him real fast. So yeah, Ham Radio Wilderness with Frank. This is the guy. If you can reach out to him, he's on our Discord. He is a moto guy, and in fact, you might be able to do a little collab with him if you're interested in doing that. It sounds like you're doing a YouTube channel as well. Frank's down for doing collaborations. I will speak on his behalf on this one. I know he is, so he'd be down. He'd be willing. So check it out.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Motorola's are great. I've kind of transitioned over to the Harris because they came out with the all-band radios before Motorola did.
Mm-hmm.
But apples to apples, they're both great options. BK is starting to make their way into the modern times. They finally came out with a all-band. It's the BKR 9000 if you want to look at it. Still a little pricey, but to be expected since it's brand new.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And then if you need any help with the 5000 and programming and stuff, let me know. I learned quite a bit in a year of interning and then, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years of hobbying with the software.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. To be honest with you, it's been dead simple, particularly the front panel. That's like brainless. If anything, I was deep diving some of the programming software, and there's some rabbit holes you can go down for you can screw yourself up real fast. Let me put it that way. So I appreciate that. Appreciate the offer. So thanks for that. Jason Lockhart with the $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and Josh, just lucky you're not part of a public safety entity and you have to program trunking.
I did. I've done that. I actually am also a scanner enthusiast, but I live in Southern California where scanners are kind of like a not so great. I do have a pager. I do have one of those like really nice G4 pagers, and I did program that up for trunking, and that is a whole different realm. So I hear you. I know what that's. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I'm so jealous that you said you have a G4. I might make the 2-day trip over there just to steal it.
Yeah, I have the what is it? The Unication G4. Yeah, I have that. It's great, but scanners. Yeah, I feel for you guys because all you can do is listen. You can't really complain, and they don't care if you did complain. There's so many entities that are going encrypted now that it's like it makes it really tough. It really tough. But yeah, man, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it.
Josh.
Yes, sir.
Oh, so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, he's good. I think he's good. You're good. Go ahead, Mike.
I've just been watching the chat on the Discord there. Mr. G has been kind of asking questions earlier, but one caught me out. Any suggestions how to get my feet wet with radios? But he finishes it with LOL, so I don't know if he's serious. But he's been asking questions prior to that. So do you have any suggestions like to how to get your feet wet in radio?
Yeah, right. Like for no money, no dollars, like free, just nothing doing.
What do you do? Like I'm a guy. I want to get into this. I see what you're doing.
Oh, he's here.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
Mike,
here?
Mike, I was serious because the thing is, after 34 years of waiting to get at least any radios, like my Yaesu FTDX10 or the... I tried to do the Baofeng, but I also tried to do CQ on that. Nobody responded back. But now, since I'm really excited and nervous about getting online... while I'm doing my general. No, I am serious on any suggestions to get my feet wet. I don't know how.
Yeah, and I dropped a link to him in private chat, but that's very specific, by the way, Mr. G, to your FTDX10. That's the guy that I linked you to is very, very knowledgeable on Yaesu radios, and he goes through a lot of the features and how to use them. But to get that comes after getting your feet wet. And the other suggestion I made to you is hook up a wire to your radio. I'm not talking about a tunable antenna, just a wire, long as you can make it, and just listen. And listen to, tune around on the bands, learn, where are the bands, how do you tune or how do you move the knob around and move the numbers around and listen to what people are saying and how do you tune in, to an SSB signal. things like that. You'll get it as you listen around. You don't need to transmit, but when you do then get comfortable with that radio, if you've got your technician license, which I'm assuming you do, you can transmit on 10 meters, which that radio will do, and you can talk all over the world with it.
So, and then sorry, Josh. They also sold me the book for the Yaesu FTDX10, and I'm starting to read about that too while I'm going for my general.
Yeah, so let me jump in real fast. For a technician, sure. You're in my area, right? You're in my neck of the woods. There's a couple of really good.
I am.
Yeah, there's a couple of really good clubs. The Downey Club is fantastic. W6TRW is really good. Whittier is really good. La Mirada is really good. La Mirada is more emergency preparedness minded than the rest. Those are all available. Like, you can search up Whittier Ham Radio Club, La Mirada Ham Radio Club, W6TRW Ham Radio Club. I mean, you just search that, it'll come up. Downey Ham Radio Club. Downey Ham Radio Club, I think, is one of like the oldest in the area, and they're going strong. I did a talk for the holiday season, and it was packed. It was packed with people. You know, Tilt's a little bit older, right? So we assume the community is going to be a little bit older, but that's a really good way to get started. Is go to a club meeting, let people know who you are, and then start appearing on their repeaters and start talking with them throughout the day and week and their repeaters, right? Because all those clubs, everyone I just mentioned in our area has a repeater. And so you can program your radio up to talk on those repeaters, and you can start being a part of that group. And the more you're involved and the more you come to the meetings, you'll do more ham radio things. You'll just keep branching out from there. It's like thawing an ice cube, right? You put it in lukewarm water and it just kind of sits there for a little bit, and it takes a little while for the ice cube to start thawing and then becoming a part of the rest of the water. It just takes time, and the best way to do that is probably join a club, and you're in an area with fantastic clubs and a ton of repeaters. California, we win. With that said, please do program in 146.520, the national calling frequency, the national simplex frequency, into your radio, because our 2-meter simplex community is strong. Where I'm at, where I'm guessing you're in and around, you can probably hear a lot of these guys, and they're on the air every day, talking, just chatting.
I'm in the Los Angeles County, the Antelope Valley area.
Antelope Valley. Where? Sorry, just do you mind telling me what city you're in?
Yeah, it's near Palmdale.
Oh, okay. So that's okay. So then you're probably going to have to start looking at the clubs out there. I don't know enough about the Palmdale clubs, to be honest with you.
Right. Yeah, because I think I asked you this a few months back, and that was the answer that I got.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm repeating myself. I apologize. I apologize.
No. I'm actually learning from a lot from you guys. I'm like a sponge to all you guys, but you guys have also gone on over my head a few times too with the antennas and all that stuff. So
it'll
some
come.
of this stuff.
It'll come in time.
Yes, I believe that.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the whole thing, is that I don't think most people in the amateur radio community are like knowledge-wise that much above anybody else. The difference is that they've packed on a lot of time and a lot of experience, and that's what you need, right? So just start living it. Just start living and dive in deep head first and go for it.
Yes, I always watch you on Wednesday nights and Saturday nights, as well as I also watch Greg, KEGG, and I'm also watching
Local
over
boy.
Frank's. Yes.
Yeah.
Frank up in North. Yeah. Frank North, Los Angeles. Not Los Angeles, and near San Francisco. That's where he is, I believe.
That's what we were talking about earlier, for Ham Radio Wilderness, yeah. With Frank.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm just watching the three of you guys.
I would. You are in a lucky place where you have a lot of repeaters. Actually, you know what? We were talking about the Cactus intertie. Boy, I'm throwing all kinds of terms at you. You could probably hit up Cactus pretty easily where you're at. Cactus is a repeater group. So if you look up the Cactus intertie or Cactus repeater group on Google, look that up. and just, work with those guys. Start talking to those guys. Now that is a membership. Those repeaters usually require a membership to you be a part of the club kind of thing. But it's a good group, recommended highly.
I don't mind.
One question I have
So
when
many
you
people talking.
say, how do I get my feet wet? Are you talking? So Josh gave great advice. Look for
Yes.
clubs and all that, and monitor 146.52 simplex. But are you talking more just how do I meet people and actually use the radio?
The way how I see it is that I'm more, as what my wife says to me, that I'm more book smart, and I have not applied my knowledge onto any radio at all, because I was, for 25 years, or actually 30 years, I was actually stuck with an HOA. So, with the HOA rule, and I asked them many times, can I do this? Can I do that? They said, no, you cannot do this because we're not allowing that.
Who's
the
they?
HOA. The HOA. Back in Illinois.
Okay, gotcha.
I learned from Dave Kastler and all that stuff. What I'm saying to Mike, getting my feet wet is just actually doing it. Not going into a deep diving, because people are gonna we don't know what you're doing, so you might want to get off the radio. I don't want to look foolish when I start doing my CQs.
So first of all, you're not going to look foolish because you're smart enough to take and pass the exam, and you're better than most of the people in the world because of that.
Ooh.
But you have a license to do that. Now HOA is going to be its own thing, but that aside, just from what you said, you sound like you're the kind of guy that just wants to go. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
So my best advice to you is just do it. Plug your stuff up, put an antenna up, do whatever, look around your yard, look up in the trees, where can I put an antenna? And all do all that. And that's the fun part. It really is. And then just see what happens. That's the magic of it.
And that's what I plan on doing. I'm currently waiting for my antenna because Anaheim was sold out with the basic those black box antennas that they were selling. I'm sure Josh knows about that. So my antenna is coming from Georgia, so I'm waiting for that to appear. My wife is actually interested in doing something like this. Getting licensed too.
You're golden.
Yeah. So let's do this. I haven't done this. I don't think I've ever done this before. I'll issue you some homework. How's this sound? I want you, with the radio you have, the FT70, I want you to find a couple of good repeaters in your area. How you find that? You go to repeaterbook.com. Pull up the repeaters, see the repeaters that you can make calls on, and then see if there are people on there. And if there isn't, go ahead and hop on there and say, hi, this is, give your call sign. I'm just checking my radio to make sure I can connect into this repeater. Wanted to see who's out there and maybe talk to somebody if they're available, and start conversations that way. And then next week, when we do another live stream and another after chat, come back in here and tell us how that went. How's that sound? That's how you can get started right now.
I like that idea. I like the homework assignment. I will do that.
Yeah, there you go.
Add that the San Gabriel Mountains and the San Bernardino Mountains are littered with repeaters.
Look at this guy.
Up there.
Look at this guy with a different Discord name. What did you do here?
What did I do? I got a new call sign, man. What'd you think?
Look at this guy. Look at this guy. He's now the Moto Man out here. The self-qualified Moto Man.
Come on.
So welcome, Shade. Welcome, Shade. Shade is here. And he literally changed his call sign to APX. What a fanboy.
Who the hell is that?
Ginger Shane.
Shane is here.
It's the formerly Queefy.
It's the formal. Did you change it because Leia called you Queefy? Oh no, Leia would not have said that. It was us, wasn't it?
It was Mike.
I'm pretty sure it was me.
It was Mike.
Yeah.
Pretty sure
Don't worry, Mike.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Mike. I'll still live up to that name. I'm not going to let you down, bro.
I just got to get used to. And you changed your call. Is this the second time you changed your call sign?
No, it's my only time. It's the first time.
Or maybe you just changed it on Discord or something. I don't know.
No. This is my legit call sign now.
But Shane,
what?
You'll always be a queefy to me.
Yes, I know. I told you, brother. I'm not going to let you down.
I would never expect you to.
So, Mr. G, let's go with that homework, man. Get out there, get on the air, test out those repeaters that you can hit, and then you come back next week and tell us how it goes, okay?
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and then let's go back to George, because I saw what, George, what is it? It's from the day the Earth stood still, right? That's the avatar that you use?
Yeah, that's Gort.
Gort, that's it. I couldn't remember the name. You were going to say something. Was it because of the cactus intertie? What was that?
Time has passed by, Josh. I can't remember what I was going to say.
I think I commented that it was a club. Is it not that?
Yeah.
What is it?
No, I was just thinking for repeater systems that might cover that area. Another one to look at is CalNet. So they have a lot of repeaters all over the place that are linked together, and so he might have coverage there. But your advice on check out Repeater Book is the best starting point.
Oh, thank you. The POTA system is absolutely one of our biggest repeater networks in the area. The downside,
always busy.
It's always busy. The downside is its DMR. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with DMR. If you're DMR, they have a couple of analog, but it's mainly DMR.
The whole system is analog.
It's not dual. It's not dual analog and DMR. Because, literally, but also, who wants to hop on a repeater? Like, I'm on my little mobile, and I'm like, oh, I'm on Papa 1. And it's like, oh, mostly, hey, it's Kilo India 6, November, Zulu, how you doing? Oh, yeah, I'm good. Yeah. I guess that's not fun. That's not cool.
I think they have them on separate machines. They have
they do have analog machines. No,
Yeah,
the DM. There's so many DMR. They have tons of DMR.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, well, why you tell me that they're analog too? But it's mostly DMR.
Touche.
Like, you're not going to be able to talk to people on DMR. They're going to be talking DMR at you. And again, it's wait.
How'd that go?
It was, you heard it. I did it 3 times now. Well, it's good to have you here, Shane. How you doing, man? How's it going?
Oh man,
You married yet? You married yet, or what, bud?
Oh, bro, it's a work in progress, man. We're doing engagement photos next month.
Am I going to get an invitation to the wedding?
You damn straight.
All right.
Hey, who knows? I might have you live stream it or something. I don't know.
Well, can we do it as good as a sport as your fiance is? I don't know that you're that she's at the level as Rosa when we did the live stream from the ham radio outlet for the wedding. Yeah, I live streamed a wedding at the Anaheim ham radio outlet for Rosa.
Marty and Rose.
Marty and Rose, that's right. And
yes.
I don't know that you have. Well, she's deep into it too. That was crazy. Gordo was there. And he had an antenna, and they had they all a bunch of guys had a line, and they all held their antennas up, and they crossed underneath the arch.
Antennas for the tunnel that they could go through.
Yes. Dude, it was crazy. That was crazy.
Oh my goodness.
I have to find that video.
I remember that.
I bet I can find it. Hold on, let me find it really quick.
Oh, he's gonna do it.
Memories.
Hey, you know what? My fiance's a keeper when she buys me the hotel room in Florida for hamcation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, bro.
I found it.
I was pricing flights to Orlando today, almost $850.
Yeah?
Yeah, from Indiana. It's like a 2-hour flight.
I have a layover on my way back. No, I think I got one way. It was not cheap though.
My flight. When I texted you the other day, Josh, I was fixing to book my flight, and then I talked to my dad, and he's like, "Well, usually we would do the same thing we usually do, but I'm buying this property up in Tennessee, so I might not be there." So I'm like, "God damn it!"
You fixing to fly, or what? Well, I mean, you pretty much
I'm not
have
driving
to
to Orlando. That's a 20-hour at least drive. It's crazy long.
Crazy long. I mean, it's gonna be. I think if the trend is holding, right? The trends. This is the trend. This is what ham radio trend has been like at the cons. It's been I take that. Hold on. Let me adjust this. It's still growing.
Speculating.
Yeah, I'm speculating. It's growing. The last two shows we went to, Hamvention and Huntsville, were way higher population than it was the previous years. Getting back to what it was before COVID, because COVID took out, like, when I say take out, I mean, like, people didn't come back to the show. I don't know that killed them necessarily, but I think that Hamcation is going to be the kickoff of what could be the biggest con year of the convention year of the whole thing. I think this might be one of the biggest. I think it's going to be bigger than all the last 3 years.
Did you see Yuma's coming back?
I did. They contacted me and they're like, "Hey, can you get out here?" And I'm like, I'll try. Like I say all the time, I want to. I have the greatest of intentions, but I just don't have enough vacation days in my hopper, guys. I still work.
Would you be Nicholas Papagiorgio from Yuma, Arizona, if you went out there?
Is that the guy from Ancient Aliens?
No. I thought you would have got that reference.
I didn't.
No,
I didn't.
Vegas Vacation.
Oh, I don't. I'm not a Lampoons guy.
I put $1 in with a car. Put $1 in with a car.
You never cease to disappoint me, Joshua.
It's not that I dislike them. It's just not a part of my rotation. Like I've seen them once.
Like, we literally just watched Christmas Vacation, my fiance and I, dude. Like, come on.
We have a very Alan Rickman Christmas in this house. It is Love Actually, Die Hard, and then all the Harry Potters.
Die Hard, yeah.
I respect that.
That's what we do.
You gotta love those Kenwoods that they use to talk to each other.
Of course. I think she's waiting for me to actually finish here so I can go watch Die Hard with her.
Speaking of movies.
Oh, she just ran in here.
Speaking of movies, did you know that Love Actually is only 2 hours and 10 minutes?
Love Actually is only 2 hours and 10 minutes. Why are you asking me that? Did I know that?
Yeah, did you know that?
No.
Are
you wait? Oh, is that are you telling me to wrap up because we're gonna go watch Die Hard?
And we're going to Shane's wedding.
Oh, I don't know if you heard that, Shane. She's very excited.
Heard it. Uh-oh.
Okay, so Leia's here. I have to wrap up here shortly. Mike, were you going to say something? I heard you.
Nope.
Okay.
I mean, I was, but nope.
Okay. Gear Related is back with another super chat for $9.99, the value-priced super chat option. Had to check out earlier. I had 3 Baofangs now. Hey, I'm just a trench coat full of 18 Baofangs if you get right down to it. And an RT95 coming in the mail Monday. Probably going to keep the RT95 in my truck. And I'm looking for a home base radio for $300 to $500 that I can grow with. For VHF, UHF, literally the sky is the limit. Like most of the Yaesu radios out. Actually, you know what? I would say, okay, here's a pro tip. This is a pro tip for me. If you're not hurting for this radio, I would wait to see what the Kenwood Mobile looks like when it comes out. That Kenwood VHF UHF Mobile is probably going to become my VHF UHF radio. I'm pretty excited about that radio. I don't know. How many people had a Kenwood Mobile in this chat? Literally nobody.
Like, currently have a Kenwood or
no? Have had.
Oh, well, I have a TK690H at my house, but I remember I've never had a Kenwood Mobile myself, but a good friend of mine up north had a D710 in his Honda Accord.
Dude, the Kenwood Mobiles are fantastic. That's like one of their
great.
One of their best radios are all the Kenwood Mobiles for sure.
I have a V71A, and then my first radio was a THG71A handheld.
I heard you, Multi, but you're a little light. You're you're away from the mic, or I don't know what's going on there, but I heard most of that.
On an AirPod, and I got a little bit of a cold, so I was talking a little bit quieter. First radio was a THG71A handheld, and then I have a V71A mobile.
Got it.
And I love both of them.
Yeah. Kenwood makes some fantastic radios. They really do, which is kind of funny because it's the when it comes to like Yaesu and ICOM kind of being the two big parties, there's Kenwood that like they always came across as like I'm just doing my own thing. I'm just going to be like the respectable company out here. And then Alinco is just running wild, doing keg stands in the backyard, making mono band radios for all the bands we want. Again, go back to my video on Make Alinco Weird Again and all the other comments on Alinco. We need another Alinco company that will bring back these crazy mono band radios that you buy for. I bought my DR135, which I use. I have two of them now. One of them is for Packet, and the other one is devoted to All-Star, which I haven't set up, for like $135. $135. Bring back the stupid cheap Alinco mobiles. That's what we need. We need that right now more than ever. Where are you at, Alinco?
With the built-in TNC, damn it.
No, but I mean, I would argue that no, you still want to get the Cantronics KP, what is it, the KP3 or whatever it is, or something like I don't remember.
Well,
you still want that. You still want a full-fledged TNC, or the, you want a proper TNC, a proper serial TNC. That thing was fantastic. There's so many options in that thing. It's like that is a device where you get it and you're like, oh, I must read the manual because this thing is like 300 pages long and there's so much information in here.
Yeah, I have 4 of those, just not a radio to hook it to. And the worst part of those is making the damn cable between the radio and the TNC.
Yes.
And yeah, that's why I hate them. That's why I used the Alincos. They would do just what I needed them to do they made great all-star nodes. But I mean, how many radios can you find in the 2 meter, even a 2 meter single bander, which was what those were, with that little RS-232 interface on the back of it, a proper DB9?
Literally, it's a proper DB9, which honestly, like if I have to be completely honest, if I'm going to go to any connector, like if I have to solder something up, those are one of the easiest ones to do versus like converting from a 3.5 to anything else, like just a nightmare.
I mean, so many of the damn things, they've got like 9 little bitty tiny 9 pins, those round adapters.
The DIN connectors. Yeah.
Or 15 pin DIN connectors, and it's like and then the pinouts are just all over the place, and so there's transmit and receive and all of these other things. And that's the thing, that amplifier I bought, oh my god, it's got a 15 pin DIN on the back of it, but there's 3 pins on it that do RS-232, and all the rest of them do something else. Like there's even transmit, inhibit, and all kinds of stuff coming off that 15 pin connector. It's crazy.
Yep. I am getting close to my leash here because Leia's already peeked in again on the door here, so I think I'm running out of time. Is there?
Hi for me.
What's that? I will. I will say hi. She was already excited about the wedding. She was like, "Oh my God, Shane!"
I know. I heard her in the background on the mic.
We all heard her.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Anything we need to hit before we head out here? Because there's a small group of people, and George stayed the whole time. George, thank you. You're the VIP of this whole evening. Thank you for hanging out with us. I appreciate that.
That's very nice, Josh. Thanks so much for inviting me. It was a pleasure to hang out with everybody.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That is another testament to why Packtenna is so darn good.
It is.
I love you, Mike.
It is. It's very good.
I love you, George, and I love your antennas even more.
I got a comment.
Go ahead, Mike.
I wanted to comment on Mike's video about metric.
Here we go. Here's a direct comment.
Being on the other side, I also wanted to dispel a few myths. As far as I know, and I got out the Google machine and I had a look, and according to the Google machine, America officially adopted the metric system in 1866.
Bollocks.
No, it's on. It's all on the web. It's all on the web. 1866. Right? Hang on, Mike. Hang on, Mike.
Claiming semantics.
Hang on, Mike.
Arguing shenanigans, but I will digress.
Hang on, Mike. Okay. So anyway, we adopted it in 1974. I was there. I was born. I remember my money not being worth as much, because we also adopted metric money as well. At the same time,
the value of your money.
Yeah, they messed up our money, I'm telling you. So anyway, we never fully adopted it. We did your approach. Measurement, yeah, millimeters and meters and all this other crap.
Okay.
For things, right? We never adopted it for distance. All our speedos in the UK and every road sign is in miles per hour.
That's like Canada.
Yeah.
Canada's all
Right?
screwed up that way too.
Yeah. We do not give a shit about kilometers, right? We don't give a shit.
When you're driving.
No, because speedos are in miles per hour, and we measure fuel, yeah? Fuel is measured in liters, but everybody knows it's 4.5 liters per gallon.
Hang on, it's measured in Coke bottles.
Well, you know. So anyway, it's like a pint of beer. It will always be a pint of beer. But the EU
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
I want to drink a pint of beer in England.
Well, everybody, see, so the nasty
specifically a pint of beer.
Yeah, so the EU went, oh, you can't do that. You cannot write 1 pint anymore on your can of beer. It's got to be 568 milliliters. So all we did is we write 568 milliliters, 1 pint. So nobody ever, as far as I know, no one ever fully accepted it. But you're perfectly right. Where it's good, it's good.
Yeah.
You use what you want. I'm totally agreeing with you that it's good for antennas and science and all these other things, and you use it how you want.
Mike, I understand your frustration, and I understand where you're coming from. Thank you for sharing with us. But we're talking about an antenna.
Oh yeah,
we're not talking our nation's politics and what they do with their maths. I've added an S to the word math because I listen to you folk maths. You guys call it maths.
Yeah.
And we did kind of,
it's a plural.
Steal your language. But no, the whole thing was you're arguing politics and King George versus freaking I don't care about any of that. This is purely from a measurement and scientific standpoint. I don't give a shit what your politics are.
Okay.
Sorry, Josh. I didn't mean to swear.
But I mean, if you just take the frequency and divide it by 300, it comes out in metric. That's what you need.
No, that's what
you need. And I totally agree with you. That's why I don't understand why people get all bent out of shape with it.
And that's why at the end of the video that I said that people are going to get bent out of shape. That video has been watched. I just posted it yesterday, and it's got like over 10,000 views.
That's good, man. That's good for you.
And like 500 comments. Like it's very. Most of the comments that I've read were in agreement, but as I said at the end, like some guys are just, it's gonna spark rage. And boy, on the YouTube comments, there's rage, and it's funny. It's fine. It's fine. It's a debate. I said at the very beginning, I want this to be positive, just open dialogue. But this is just buy a $13 tape, but just buy a metric tape measure. It's a metric hobby. That was my only point.
Yeah, but they all come that way here, but there you go.
Yeah. One guy said that men shouldn't wear earrings, though. There's always that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Hey, I'm
boy.
gonna say this because I grew up in the '70s when they were trying to introduce the metric system here in the United States, and we resisted it. It was absolutely
No, it happened.
100%
Of course we did.
1970s.
You guys are missing the point. This doesn't need to go to we. And there were all those comments too, Tim.
No. Where I was going.
Don't. If you look at the past, nothing's going to change. If
No.
you look at the future.
Let me finish, Mike. I hear you, brother. I hear
finish.
you. But it was all 1776 all over again. And my point was now that I'm older, I'm sitting here and I'm like because of ham radio and the metrics, I kind of wish I had learned it back then, because now I find a base 10 math measurement system is a whole hell of a lot easier than fractions.
But what
I wish we had pushed ourselves further back then to do it.
What do you mean learned it then? It's you go get a 10 millimeter socket and you work on a bolt, or you measure out 40 meters. Like it's not complicated.
No. But I'm saying that I wish that we had used it in our everyday lives and we had pushed ourselves further back then, because it's easier. A 10 millimeter is a lot easier to figure out than a 3/8 or whatever the hell
I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier. Gray man, I hear what you're saying, but
I'm gonna need a 7/16.
It's just a tool. It's just a tool. 7/16 using Mike's parlance there is just a socket that matches the bolt that fits that, and I need to take that bolt out, or I need to put it in. You guys are too focused on the math. An antenna, there's math in that. That's true. That's true.
Point, Josh.
But I'm not
I
talking
know.
math.
I know.
I'm talking base 10 numbers, right? It's a 10, it's 11, it's a 10.5.
Well,
it's
you know why it's a base 10?
A 7/16.
This is why it's
seconds and a 4/64 and trying to add those together.
That's why it's base 10. That's why I joke about furlongs and cubits and all that stuff, because it's all man-made nothingness. The idea though is that it's a tool. Your measurement tool is the same thing as your socket or your wrench or your measuring tape or whatever. You just have to have the right tool for the job, and then have the correct conversions to adapt upon it. That's it.
Well, I get it. That's what I'm saying. If we pushed the base 10 system, I think it would have been a lot better for all of us, because that's a whole hell of a lot easier to figure out and doing the maths. Because if you try to see people do maths on stream, I'm just saying it's a lot easier, and I wish we had pushed ourselves further or harder towards it back. Yeah,
Leia's apparently watching Die Hard without me right now, so there is no way they already have a machine gun and they're already ordering it. Okay, there's no way. She started this without me.
In the stream, Josh.
This is a sad day for our family that they started Die Hard without me right now. I'm a little upset.
You can always just rewind it.
Rewind it, Don?
Yeah.
He said rewind.
You think he's going to get the clicker from Leia?
No. Not in this.
That's what the Flipper Zero is for.
Good.
All right.
That.
I love
machine gun and Die Hard is metric.
And Josh, real quick.
Yes.
Gutters. Just do it.
Oh my God. Yeah, Leia's been talking about gutters since we ended that live stream. Thanks so much, Don.
1 gallon a year.
Don, I don't know if you heard the most recent episode, but you got promoted as in the Don Army. I don't know if you heard that.
I didn't hear it, but I've listened to the entire episode, so I missed it somehow.
Really?
You
emailed. You heard your email.
Well, I emailed today. Did you do one today?
Yeah, it dropped this morning.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I haven't.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, okay, I was about to flip out that I screwed something up. But yeah, you got promoted on today's episode, so you are now General Isimo of the Don Army.
Well, I saw Leia said that, in the chat, and I go, okay, not me, I guess. So she said something to me, or said, I was just here to welcome General Don, and I was like, who the heck is that?
It's you, because you got promoted on the podcast on the Don Army.
All right, I'll have to listen for that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, I think I'm done here. So, George, thank you so much for coming out. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Josh. 73, everybody.
Yeah, take it easy, everybody. You guys can keep hanging out. I didn't even get to really dip into my amp, but oh, buddy, it be amping. Like immediately. It's fantastic. So in the morning, I will probably try and get up and maybe hit some 10 meters. So if you're out there and you can hear me, let's make a contact.
Dude, those Europeans have been coming down 10 meters in the morning like crazy lately.
Yeah, and my 10-meter beam is pretty nice. It's about perfect. My antenna is about perfect for the lower frequency or the higher low HF frequencies, if you catch my drift. It's good. It's good. It's real good. So I'm gonna be I'll be out there in the morning.
What time do you think you'll be doing the 10 meters? So maybe I should try to get you on my radio as my first contact.
Well, I would love that, Mr. G. That would be awesome. The reality is that it's basically based on this wonderful lady right above my head, depending on how long she keeps me up. So if I'm awake helping her out, then who knows? It might be noon. Add me to your ham alert. By the way, that's another good thing to get your feet wet. Add all your favorite ham radio people, their call signs into Ham Alert, which is a web app that you can download on your phone. It's a website. You can program all the little call signs in there, and then if you hear that come up, then you know where people are at. That's another fun thing to do, too.
I'll look that up, too. Thank you very much, Josh, for the information.
All right, you guys take it easy. I'm going to head out of here. 73.
73, buddy.
73.
All right, everybody on the YouTubes, I am officially done. So I'm gonna go catch up with the lady here, and I hope she did order pizza. I would love a piece of pizza right now. That'd be great. I don't know what they have for dinner, but I'm gonna grab some of that. So 73 to everybody from me, Josh KI6NAZ, and I push this button, and the music comes out.